on Rockfin. Okay. Q Rockfin. All right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Thursday. Welcome to Sabby Sabs podcast. I'm your host, sabrinasalvati. We have a big show tonight. We're going to get things started off with a panel. Before the panel comes in, I do want to go ahead and show you what we are discussing tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, again, big show. We have a lot of stories to discuss, so just get ready for that, especially since I'm not going to be live tomorrow evening. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are discussing Morning Joe freaks out. What are they freaking out about? Could it have anything to do with the ratings that just came out, those Nielsen ratings? We'll get into that. We're also going to discuss, of course, you probably heard by now, Jasmine Crockett controversy. We're going to get into the statement that Jasmine Crockett made. We're also going to talk about a little bit of the hypocrisy, people calling her out for this. Some of those people were not willing to call out Donald Trump. We're also making fun of someone with a disability. We're also going to get into, if you haven't heard, this is a big story. A Tufts University student is detained. That's a local story here for me here in Massachusetts. We're also discussing the AOC Bernie panel. That is about the AOC Bernie oligarchy tour. And of course, we also have, it's Thursday, so we are going to discuss the craziest stories of this week. And we have a bonus story. If you guys have not heard, a pastor demands $40,000 from his congregation. So that's an interesting story as well. Let's go ahead and bring in the panel. You may be familiar with some of them. Hello. Hello, everyone. All right. We want to go ahead and get things started and let everybody introduce themselves. Let's start with you, Zainab, and we'll just work our way around.
Hey guys, I'm Zaina Day. I've Done some shameful politics in the past, like was press director for AOC and wrote her speeches and helped get her elected. Don't hold that against me. No, we really believed we were doing something back then. And I'm a contributor to Status Quo News. I have my own Substack called Bullhorn Bulletin, and elections, third party, and that kind of stuff has been my life's work. So I think that about sums it up.
Thank you, Zeneb. Jason Call.
Hi, Sabby. Hi, friends on the panel. Jason Call, longtime activist, 35 years in progressive organizing, former campaign manager for the Jill Stein campaign, and current campaign manager for Butch Ware for California governor campaign. Very happy to be here. And I also was a huge Bernie acolyte in 2016, a little bit less so in 2020. But time to put that stuff behind us.
All right, Ron Paclone.
What's up, everybody? Sabby, good to see you. Everybody, good to see you. My name is Ron Placone. I'm a comedian and writer and filmmaker. I have a movie out now called Left at Wall. You can get it in a lot of places where you get your movies. Apple TV, YouTube movies, you can get it right here. I'll also be performing in San Diego, April 4th and 5th, and Seattle, Washington, May 23rd. I like, among other things, cats, music, and unions. I dislike, among other things, war, corruption, and capitalism. And also, I'll give a quick shout out. I know that he's not here, but I just wanted to give a shout out to Jay Buffont. I know he got some encouraging news recently on the health front, and I know he's a friend and colleague of yours and RBN and everything. So if he's watching, really happy to hear it. It made my day, and we're rooting for you.
Thank you so much, Ron. JB will be glad to hear that. And Jason.
Hello, everyone. Last but not least, Sab, good to see you again, and nice to meet all of the new panelists. My name is Jason Chikuma. I'm a law student, also here in the Boston, Massachusetts area. I'm also a political commentator, where I like to dissect some of the biggest stories from a progressive angle and really think about how the sort of multiple crises that we see going on domestically and abroad can actually be a really good opportunity to rethink the way we do progressive politics. I'm on YouTube, TikTok, Substack. My handle across everything is Truth is Speaking. I'm happy to be here.
All right. So welcome, everyone. We have gathered here tonight to discuss this AOC Bernie Sanders oligarchy tour and possibly a path forward. And what does that look like? I want to get started with this clip here. Again, shout out to the awesome, wonderful Case Study QB for this.
Bernie is back.
Hey, Mr. Trump, people fought and died to create a democratic society. You're not going to take it away from us.
83-year-old independent Senator Bernie Sanders is drawing crowds even bigger than he did as a presidential candidate.
Feeling the burn.
Yeah. For the past month, Sanders has taken his fight against President Donald Trump on the road. He's billing it the Fighting Oligarchy Tour.
We will not allow America to become an oligarchy.
In Denver, the anti-Trump sentiment was strong.
Oh, I think it's a disaster. And he talks about he has a mandate. He never had a mandate.
But so was the frustration with Democrats.
How's the Democratic Party doing challenging this?
They got to be a little tougher.
We're being a bunch of doormats.
So it feels like we're left stranded when everything feels like it's crumbling.
Tour's Western swing, Sanders was joined by New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
He has handed the keys of the federal government to Elon Musk.
We can stop it there. You guys are familiar with what's going on here. So AOC and Bernie Sanders have started this oligarchy tour as a response to Donald Trump winning the presidency, and also Elon Musk kind of just acting like a madman and making executive decisions. It seems like it's President Elon Musk instead of President Trump. I think we're all familiar with what is really going on. But the thing I want to ask everybody tonight, people seem to be torn on this particular tour. There are some people that said this is just going to go right back into the Democratic Party. There are others who applaud what they're doing. But I've even had people ask me, what's the next step after this? Like they're going to those rallies and they're just like, okay, so what are they asking us to do? And I'm curious to hear how all of you feel about the oligarchy tour first and foremost, and if you think this is the right way to go for next steps. I'm going to start with you, Zainab, since I know that you worked with Justice Democrats, so you are very familiar with AOC.
Well, I have mixed feelings about it because I think that there's a potentiality that people can be sheep herded back into the Democratic Party that we see happening over and over again without any real reforms happening, and then people selling out like some of my candidates did and having that kind of problem. But on top of that, I'm also excited to see people talking about boycotts and strikes, which was part of the messaging, how things need to get done now. And even Bernie talking about people running independent. I am disappointed he didn't mention running third party, but in my state, there is no third party, and you can't have one unless you run a presidential election and you get 20%. So as much as I'd want to run green or something there, the fact is you can run independent now in states like that where we don't have it established yet, not have to wait. So mixed bag on this. Good message. Don't want people sheep herded back into the Dems unconditionally. I'm already seeing some milquetoast candidates coming on pretending to be cosplay revolutionary. I've interviewed like 700 candidates, when we were endorsing them, and there's red flags going up about the, opportunists coming out already. And I'm like, I don't know how I feel about this. So, it's a mixed bag for me.
That's what I've been hearing from a lot of people. Jason, you were a part of the, worker strike back / Green Party collaboration where they actually had announced that they were doing this fight back against the rich tour. How do you feel about this? Some people are saying that this is splitting the left because, believe it or not, a lot of people who are voting for the Green Party are left because the Green Party does have a left platform. How do you feel about people who are saying that they're splitting the left by this and they're not collaborating together? For example, Bernie Sanders and AOC should be, in my opinion, I think they should be collaborating with Jill Stein and Shama Sawant, and all of them should be fighting back against the oligarchy together. But there is that split. How do you feel about that?
Well, this is where the skepticism comes from, is if they are not willing to highlight people who have been working on the outside of the duopoly for a long time and say that these people have had the right ideas, they're simply not to be trusted. And I'm with Zaina on the mixed bag in terms of, I think it's really good that a lot of people are very pissed off in this moment because they absolutely should be. But if they are simply directing all of that energy against Trump, like the lady who commented, will the Democrats need to stop being doormat. Wake up. That's the function of the Democrats, is to be the doormat. They are literally there to everything that Trump is doing. The way to it has been paved by the Democratic Party for the last 45 years. So Democrats and Republicans are both capitalist parties. You can't have a revolution within a counter-revolutionary party, which is what the Democratic Party is. So, and the other thing I wanted to comment on is some of the video that AOC has put out there it's just pathetic. I don't even think she buys her own shtick anymore. That's how sad it's coming off. But they should be turning these voters who are very pissed off about Trump need to recognize that both major parties are working hand in glove with each other. There's token resistance, and then there's overt fascism, covert fascism versus overt fascism. All in all, it's all fascism. What are the Democrats doing about students at Tufts, for instance, getting pulled? And I know you're going to do the segment later, getting pulled right off the street in broad daylight. What are they doing about it? Nothing. Why? Because they paved the way for that to happen.
All right. Ron, how do you feel about this? All of us come from the Bernie movement. Like, just FYI for anyone that's new that's watching, all of us come from that particular movement. But Ron, I know like you had a show during the time that Bernie was running. How do you feel about this Fight Back the Oligarchy tour at this point?
So I am more than encouraged than not, but I'm encouraged because of what I am paying attention to. So what excites me about the whole thing is the fact that thousands of people in all over the country and in red states and in rural areas even, they're coming out against the oligarchy. Like that's kind of the premise of the whole thing. It's kind of fighting the oligarchy. That to me is incredibly encouraging. And then I kind of look around online and also in my personal life that there's people I know who are more, left of liberal, but not quite where I'm at, if that makes sense. And even 4 years ago, they wouldn't say the United States is an oligarchy. And 4 years ago, and especially 8 years ago, they would say things to me like, come on, Rod, now's not the time. Now's not the time. Well, now a lot of those people are saying the stuff that we've been saying 4 years ago and 8 years ago. They are tired of the Democratic Party. They are seeing that it's not an opposition party at all. That's a freaking good thing. The fact that just kind of regular people who maybe don't pay a ton of attention to politics because they're working 2 and 3 jobs just to survive are saying, yes, we do live in an oligarchy. Yes, the Democratic Party is not in opposition. That's a good thing. What we can't do is we can't expect AOC or Bernie or any other politician to lead the movement that is necessary for what happens next. It never works that way in American politics. It probably never will. What we really need is massive amounts of mutual aid. And you look at, Chris Smalls, you look at Sean Fain. We need those types of people in every industry. Every type of workforce needs to have a leader like that. And then you need some massive mutual aid. And that's how change actually happens. But the fact that there has been this mass awakening is a good thing.
Yeah, and I'll add to that. I just spoke to Chris Smalls. Recently, we had him on RBN, and he is going across the country trying to organize people for a general strike. Like Chris Smalls is still organizing. So just FYI for those who were wondering. Jason, how do you feel about all this?
No, I would echo what everyone else has already said, particularly Ron, talking about this being a moment of awakening. I think that is positive. But what I am worried about, I mean, there are a lot of different places where this movement, if you can call it that AOC and Bernie are trying to start, is fraught with danger. But what I'm worried about is the term oligarchy becoming just another part of our partisan political landscape where people associate oligarchy only with Donald Trump and the Republicans. Mm-hmm. I don't see the fact that America has been an oligarchy for quite a while before Donald Trump got on the scene. If anything, literally my first YouTube video that I made, which coincided with Trump's inauguration, was basically talking about how the Trump administration is almost like the logical endpoint of this incredibly predatory version of capitalism, which often borders on fascism, and unsurprisingly ended up just going full-on fascist in the end of it, right? It's not that we didn't have an oligarchy before in the United States. The thing that is scary about the Trump movement in particular is that you are taking the concentration of economic power and combining it with like a shrewdly authoritarian political movement that isn't afraid to bend and break any rules, any laws, any customs in the service of like this really narrow elite of people that it serves. So all the energy and the momentum that is coming out of this movement, if people just think that the problem of oligarchy is going to go away once the Democrats get back in charge, then the opportunity to build something genuinely new, something lasting that can take us beyond the current uniparty that we have would have really been lost. And that's like one of my main fears. I have more to say about AOC and Bernie in particular, but at a high level, that's what I would say.
Yeah, I kind of feel I kind of agree with all of you guys that is my concern. I'm concerned that people are just thinking that the billionaire problem is on the Republican side and not that it's a problem on the Democrat side as well. Because I think if this tour would have been launched under Biden administration, I think people might feel a little bit differently, right? Like maybe if AOC and Bernie had launched this oligarchy tour when Biden was president, I think more people would have been like, oh, wow, Democratic Party is taking this corporate money too. The Democratic Party is also corrupt. But it seems like to me, the fight only seems to come out when Donald Trump is president. Just like when Donald Trump won in 2016, don't forget, that's where Justice Democrats came from. It was birthed from how in the world did we get Donald Trump as president? So it seems like the fight comes out when the Republicans are in charge. And that brings me to this clip here. When Bernie Sanders was questioned about AOC running for Chuck Schumer's seat. Listen to this.
Back when When I first came to the Congress and the House, I helped form the Progressive Caucus. We had 5 people in it at that time. Now they got close to 100. So you got a whole lot of good people. Alexandra is extraordinary. I am so impressed by her work in Congress and she inspires young people all over the country.
Would you like to see her join in the Senate?
Right now we have, as I said, just a whole lot of people in the Congress. Okay, Jonathan, thanks.
Wait, I got one more. This is important.
Well, I asked you.
Okay.
You want to do nonsense, do nonsense.
No.
I don't want to talk about inside the Beltway stuff. I got 32,000 people.
I was just asking you about AOC because she was out there.
Yeah, fine. But I don't want to talk about this. What was the last question?
I was just going to ask you one more question about you. I mean, that's all. I was literally your last.
What is your question?
Well, I mean, it's easier to I mean, I want to ask you about your future. This is the biggest crowd. You said you ran for president twice. This is the biggest crowd you've ever seen. Are we going to see you run again? Or what's your future?
No, right now, I am very proud that the people of the state of Vermont sent me back to the Senate with 63% of the vote. Right now, I'm Vermont senator. That's what I do, and I'm very happy to do it. I am 83 years of age, and I'm tired.
So that part right there, right? So Bernie Sanders wanting to exit the moment he was asked about maybe AOC challenging Chuck Schumer, or actually anybody challenging a Chuck Schumer, someone to the left of him. And this idea that, Chuck Schumer, many think that he needs to step down. It seems like when the criticism comes towards individual Democrats in Congress, he doesn't want to speak out against that. Like, he spoke out about the issues with Kamala's campaign after Kamala lost. But during that time, that was a moment where he really could have said, like, this is not a working class agenda. Like, this campaign is not gonna get you across the finish line. But he does seem a lot hesitant to criticize individual Democrats. And that's what bothers some people. A lot of people saw this and they said, well, how are you fighting back against the oligarchy if you can't even be willing to stand up to someone like a Chuck Schumer? And Zainab, I pass it back to you. There seems to be this hesitancy, and some people are saying that this is now the left Tea Party that we've been looking for. But the Tea Party, which was part of the Republican, came from the Republican side, the Tea Party fought back against their own members of their own party. That's right. And it seems like Bernie doesn't want to do that. Zainab.
Yeah, I think that's interesting because I didn't initially think of it that way, and it's probably my politics brain, because I always hated when I was trying to organize something else, like when I was trying to organize Abolish ICE or Medicare for All, and they wanted to ask me like legacy politics bullshit when I was trying to do the actual policy. You know what I mean? I'm like, we're not talking about, who's going to challenge who right now. We're not talking about who's going to be president in 2028. I'm worried about what is happening right now. All these people dying without health care. Let's talk about that. But that's a really good point you make, because did he get up because it was just that, or did he get up because he didn't really want to talk about challenging Schumer? I didn't think about it that way, but I think you're right. I call it situational courage. They have situational courage right now. They only got this courage when a Democrat's in office, or when a Republican's in office. When a Democrat's in office, they're out here endorsing Biden. They're out here endorsing, his fascistic policies that he had before this. They're not really standing up to bills that are coming across that are criminalizing pro-Palestinian protesters. Like Jasmine Crockett's a great example. She voted in favor of arming Israel. She voted in favor of censoring pro-Palestinian students, and people are like, she's so revolutionary and edgy. And I'm like, she's so revolutionary that she voted in favor of genocide and oligarchy and apartheid? Like, really? And that's what I think of when I think of this tour right now, is situational courage. It's like the pink pussy hat wearers that came out, Resistance 2.0 and the white pantsuits and, the first presidential address, that Trump made and all of that. I hated that stuff. It went nowhere. The first women's march went nowhere. We still had Roe versus Wade taken away. And then no one's mentioning the point that 70% of seats went uncontested. 70% of seats went uncontested down ballot this year. There was no damn challenge in states. These red states aren't even red. There's just no choice on the ballot. But they're not talking about that opportunity. They're not actually talking about running people in the next election. They're talking about 2028, or I am glad they're talking about strikes and boycotts right now, but it doesn't seem to be, there's not a full call to action with this. And like you said, there's not the proper criticism of the party. They're not criticizing them for talking about the good billionaires. They're not out there giving Jeffries down the road. They're not talking about Gaza and Palestine. Not really. I'm not seeing the things that are, I didn't see a whole lot of policy in their speeches either. Did you guys? Because I didn't. I'm excited about this, but I want them talking about Medicare for all. I want them talking about the things that we need to be talking about and actually speaking out against fascism. And like Jason made a really good point. Truth is Speaking made a really good point about the word oligarchy. I don't want that branded like other words where it becomes meaningless anymore.
That's a really good point. Well, that's what people are saying, that some of the people are saying, like, okay, you're having these rallies, but what are you asking us to do? Is the ask just to tell us to come out and support the Democratic Party, which I think we all can assume, and I'll pass it to you, Jason Call. We all can assume we know how the DNC works, right? Like they've blocked Bernie, like they've gone after Bernie like twice. They're going to want who the donors want to be the nominee. So this is why I think many of us, some of us that come from that Bernie movement have been very hesitant, because some of us see this and we're like, we already know what's going to happen, that when that corporate Democrat is selected by the DNC to be the nominee, that you guys are going to tell us you support them. I pass it to Jason Call.
Well, let's just look at what happened on a congressional level in the last election. Two of the most progressive, and I use that word again, the word progressive means almost nothing anymore. And as far as the word oligarchy, we've had an oligarchy for decades. Bernie was speaking about it. In 2016, he was identifying the word oligarchy. So, but you know, they bounced Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman out of office on AIPAC money, and nobody said boo about it. Nobody said boo about it. The Progressive Caucus is an absolute joke. You've got dozens of members in there that are crossover members with the New Democrat Coalition, which is it's literally the Koch brothers coalition in the Democrats, because when that coalition was formed 20 odd years ago, the Koch brothers wanted a faction within the Democratic Party that would be purely for their business interests. So a progressive, Bernie being proud of the Progressive Caucus, like, 2/3 are complete garbage. They're fully loaded up on corporate money. They're fully loaded up on AIPAC money. They're not the resistance is not coming through the Democratic Party. It's not coming through the Progressive Caucus. I really think that what a standout moment would be in terms of names is for somebody like Cori Bush to say, hey, I'm joining the left, like I'm officially leaving the Democratic Party. This Democratic Party is trash. Or somebody like Rashida Tlaib, who, you know, ostensibly in the next election, if she was to run, like, I'm going to hold my seat because my district likes me, but I'm not going to do it as a Democrat because the Democrats genocided my people for 15 months. You know, those are the revolutionary things that need to happen within the Democratic Party. They're not going to happen. You saw the interview with Jamal Bowman on Bree Joy's show. Absolutely pathetic, and more concerned about people, you know, calling him out than actually doing the work for the people. That's the state of the Progressive Caucus right now. So, and Bernie himself can't say the word genocide. People ask him on the street, Bernie, what are you going to do to help people in Palestine? And he yells at them. You know, how is that any different than Medea Benjamin being in the halls of Congress and asking Republicans, will you, you know, stop arming Israel? And they ignore her and yell at her. There's no difference, no difference at all. I don't see Bernie anymore. And I'm sad to say it. Because you know, God knows how much money I donated to him and all the time I put into his efforts over his 2 runs in 16 and 20. But he has absolutely lost the thread. Again, good thing happening, as we've all identified, that people are waking up to how trash our government is. The question is then, what are you going to do about it? Any resistance, any real resistance, and where we need to go is not going to happen within the Democratic Party. That interview with Bernie should tell you a lot. Now, I had not seen that before, and you probably saw me laughing the whole way through it. I was like, oh my God, Bernie, you have completely lost the thread here. You're going to get mad at somebody asking a question, a legitimate question. Should AOC run for Chuck Schumer's seat? And he doesn't even want to answer that. It's over. It's over. Good. Bring people out to the rallies. let the left take over from there. We need some voices on the left to really stand up and I don't want to use the word herd or corral in a disrespectful way, but we got to get these people moved in the right direction, and it's not happening with Bernie and AOC.
Ron, what do you think about all of this? What do you think about Bernie's reaction there?
You know, so that is my first time seeing that clip. And yeah, as far as to kind of just piggyback on what everyone said, was he just upset because being asked about Chuck Schumer, even though I don't believe, did the reporter actually use those words, or did he just leave it as vague as should AOC run for Senate? And it was implied.
Should she run for Senate? But it was implied because he's already asked the question.
Yeah. So I mean, Bernie has always been soft on his colleagues, and that's always been frustrating. I mean, I still, whenever I see it, I think of moments in the debate where he was basically catching Joe Biden in a lie, and he would multiple times be like, "Are you sure, Joe?" And we were all screaming at the television. Good times. So yeah, I mean, that's been frustrating, forever, and they're all that way. They're always soft on their colleagues. The other side of it, though, this guy is a corporate journalist. I'm not even the ABC guy. This guy is a corporate journalist. There's a media theorist named Todd Gitlin who a long time ago laid out the way corporate journalists in the United States treat movements. They trivialize it, they marginalize it, and then they antagonize it. That is what they do. They started doing it in Nam, probably before. They did it to Occupy Wall Street. They did it to the George Floyd protests. They do it to everything. That is always how it's been. So now you have thousands of people coming out in regards to the oligarchy, and this corporate journalist just wants to get some soundbite of political insider baseball gossip. So I kind of get from that angle, I kind of get where Bernie's coming from. And I'm certainly not going to side with this corporate journalist. Was that Bernie's motivation or wasn't it? I don't know. I'm not inside the guy's head. But I see that side of it, too. Getting big picture with all this, here is a truth that I hope we all realize. We being the left, people who want actual progressive change, real progressive change. By the way, I've said for a long time, the only metric of getting into the Congressional Progressive Caucus is if you have progressive car insurance. I stand by that. It's my theory. I'm sticking to it. But having blabbered all that, we need more people. We just do. Our numbers are way too freaking small. And so you really got to let people evolve. I know that nobody here, myself included, was a leftist when they were born. I was not reading Noam Chomsky in the crib. Maybe someone here was. I sure as hell wasn't. I don't think any of us were. We all had our moments. For me, it was the Iraq War. And you know what? It took me a while to fully evolve. First, I just thought, Bush wants to continue the war and Kerry wants to stop it. It certainly wasn't that simple, but in my head it was. But you know what I did? I kept reading more. I kept learning more. And eventually I realized what the war machine in the United States was all about. And I never looked back. So yeah, I take everyone's point that, we don't want people to just associate oligarchy with Trump. Abso-freaking-lutely. But you know what? Give people the space to evolve. They're getting there now. Hey, we live in an oligarchy and Trump's really amping it up to 11. So, it's up to all of us to kind of push people in a direction. And hey, by the way, this didn't start with Trump and it's not going to end with him either, because here's the big freaking picture, and give people the space to freaking evolve that way. So that's why I think big picture, I'm really hopeful and cautiously hopeful. Hopeful as in, the burden is on all of our backs, all of us, the collective we, because I really want to see a true movement. The left as a whole has been losing for 100 years in the United States. 100 frickin' years. That's a long time. And I am so sick of losing.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it too. A lot of people, we haven't had wins on the national level. We've had wins on the state level, but not on the national level. I'm passionate.
Yeah, there's little wins. I don't mean like literally we've lost every single moment of every single thing, but collectively, yeah, you get it. Yeah.
I'm going to come to you now, Jason. That's something else I was going to add as well, Ron. Like one of the things Roger Meadows, kind of a friend of the show, Roger, kind of got me to understand, and it took some time, is that he said people aren't always going to be where you are when you're there. And that you have to learn how to give people some grace and like that kind of stuff. So Roger did like, he got that through my brain after telling me this for like about a year. Jason, what's your take on this?
Oh yeah, I've had so many thoughts listening to everyone speak. First of all, Zainab, the DNC should pay you for coining that term, situational courage. Like, we're not cowards, we are just situationally courageous. I'm like, wow, that is some A+ political consulting work right over there. But no, it's a good segue we're talking about. And thinking about what it's going to take for Democrats to win. I have a lot of thoughts, not just about the Bernie interview and the Chuck Schumer question, but I think the general point that I would make here is that as much as we criticize Republicans, there's a lot that not just Democrats, but like the broadly speaking left political movement in America could learn from them, because they, more than anyone else in this country, know what it takes to build the sort of coalitions that are required to actually seize and maintain political power and use it to actually push their agendas through. So what do I mean by that? So like, first, I do agree with the interpretation of that interview that Bernie had, that he was showing, once again, for reasons that are still inexplicable to me, his deference to the establishment Democratic Party that has personally screwed him so many times, right? The one things that the Republicans showed in the creation of both the Tea Party and Donald Trump's primary run in 2015, 2016, was that when the Republicans decided they needed to change their party, and yes, they ended up changing it into something that I think we all disapprove of morally and politically, they weren't asking the insiders in their party for permission. They weren't cozying up to them at dinners and trying to get invited to the White House Christmas party and all this other sort of stuff. They took a confrontational attitude. Like, we don't care if you don't like us. We don't care if you don't talk to us. We are going to take over the leadership of this party, whether you like it or not. And that sort of fighting spirit was what drew a lot of people to figures like Bernie and AOC in the first place. So watching them over the course of time, like, slowly back away from the things that drew so many supporters to them is like both disheartening for the party and also disillusioning for an entire political generation that has watched one after another basically had to fall out of love with their like political icons on the left, because they've seen all the compromises that they've made with an establishment that is clearly beyond saving itself, much less the country. Like, the one thing that I had hoped before the election, in the event that Trump won, was that I'm like, okay, well, now after the party that had spent a decade telling us, these are the most important elections of our lives, we have to rally and organize against Trump, after losing 2 out of 3 elections to him, the third of which they only won because of COVID, and even then it was a really close election. I thought that would hopefully be the final like nail in the coffin of the DNC establishment politics as usual, that would pave the way for something new. But just seeing how tightly they have their hands like gripped to the centers of power in that party, it made me realize that, oh wow, the fight that it's going to take to retake control of this party, if that's even something that can be done, it's beyond what any nationally prominent political organizers or leaders on the left are willing to do. That is something that Republicans have already done now twice, basically in the last decade in their own party, in order to transform it into the sort of thing that would be a conduit and a vehicle for their sort of political transformation. The other thing that I would say, and it's a related point on why a genuinely confrontational left Tea Party movement, whatever form it takes, one of the things that is coming out of the political moment that we are in, another thing that Republicans do really well, is that you have a unique opportunity for coalition building on the left. A lot of the people that are usually at each other's throats, like progressives and leftists and liberals, with the Chuck Schumer, particularly when Chuck Schumer refused to shut down the government a couple of weeks ago, it was actually really interesting being online and just being in left spaces, seeing across the entire spectrum of left thinking, from like some of the more moderate voices to even the most like revolutionary leftist voices. Everyone was coming to the conclusion that, like, if we keep following this establishment, they're going to get us all killed, basically. And we now have to starting to think about radical actions that will need to be taken within the party in order to unseat the leaders who really have no sense of direction for the party. But in this time, you need to have leaders, like what the Republicans are able to do in these in these situations is they put together, they don't need every element of their coalition to agree on everything. It's actually pretty incredible, the sort of coalitions they build across. You can take religious conservatives and libertarians and neoconservatives and like, okay, like we can disagree on basically half of our, most fundamental beliefs, but how about we just get into power first? And then once we do that, we can debate amongst ourselves what is the best way to divide this pie between us. The problem is we usually on the left start dividing the pie before we've actually won anything. So we're on the outside looking in. That's why the rallies were sad, man. I'm watching, they're like, we got 30,000 people in Colorado. Trump's like, that's cute. I'm abolishing the Constitution tomorrow with an executive order. But I'm glad you guys are rallying. Like, keep wearing those pussy hats and bring those signs to my speeches and whatnot. It's like we are way, way, way beyond the symbolic political gesturing game. And we have a unique opportunity where we can build that sort of consensus amongst everybody who generally views themselves as left of centers. Like, maybe you don't think of yourself as a leftist. Maybe you call yourself a liberal, a progressive, or no label at all. I think now is the time to look for the areas of overlap. Where people say, listen, we can disagree on the finer points once we stem the damage that's being done and actually get into power. But let's actually get into power first and start reversing some of this damage.
Really interesting.
I was going to say, can I follow on to that for just a second? Because that is what Workers Strike Back and the Green Party are trying to do under Sharma's leadership. And Sharma is, I've said for years that she's the most important politician in the country because of the ability to clearly articulate what we're going after and then mobilize people to achieve those goals. So I would say, and Jason, I absolutely loved everything. I've never heard you before, but you are absolutely on fire here, and I'm going to start finding out where I can listen to you more. So thank you. But I think there's got to be sort of ground rules of, like, you got to be anti-capitalist. If somebody starts talking about reforming capitalism, I don't want anything to do with them. Capitalism is over. We got to move beyond capitalism. If somebody starts talking about, well, this movement has to happen within the Democratic Party because the left is not strong enough outside the Democratic Party, I don't want to hear it. The Democratic Party, as somebody who has run for Congress, has seen what the Democratic Party does to people who try to challenge power from the inside. They're not going to let it happen. And so we have to be very clear that the movement has to be built outside the duopoly. The capitalist duopoly is simply a no-go. So if we can sort of set those, like, here's barrier to entry for coalition building, then we can argue about the details. Now, I agree with you that we start arguing about these little details. Like, I got some people within the Green Party who are mad at me because I identify as a Marxist-Leninist. I'm like, what does it matter at this point? What does it matter? Let's work on getting the power that we need to have. So from that perspective, I think you're absolutely right. And you see in social media spaces a lot that you've got DSA sniping at PSL, sniping at the Green Party, sniping at other left independents. Stop all of this. Anti-capitalist, anti-imperialist, anti-genocide outside the Democratic Party. Let's build that together.
So let me bring this up because here's one of the things that people are noticing as well. So far, all of these areas that they've gone to, we're noticing there seems to be something, I don't know, kind of similar about the crowds. And I noticed this in 2016, also in 2020. And I feel that Bernie has not learned this lesson yet. And I want to bring in this clip here. Again, shout out to Case Study QB. Bernie has a problem here. And again, I don't think Bernie is running for president again. I'm just talking about in particular with this oligarchy tour. There is a community that seems to be forgotten. And if it were me and I was in that situation, I would have gone to obviously the Black community first, because the Democratic Party cannot win without the Black vote. That's why Kamala Harris lost. So listen to what this gentleman said here.
Okay, let's have a conversation. But 5 years ago this month, I interviewed Dr. Ivory Thigpen. He's the senior pastor of a church in Columbia, South Carolina. And he was Bernie's 2020 South Carolina co-chair. And he talked about how Bernie really underestimated the Black vote. Yep. And one of the big mistakes was that he did not go to the anniversary of Bloody Sunday. And the failure of courting the Black vote, right? Well, Bernie did well with Black folks under 30. Sadly, that isn't a very large turnout number. Right. especially during the primaries. But black voters over 30, he didn't do that well. I want to play a brief clip of my discussion that I had with Dr. Ivory Thigpen 5 years ago. And I think that if they want to break through, they should listen to what this guy was saying, working with the Bernie Sanders campaign, saying it out of love. But the way he was speaking, listen to this.
I think South Carolina as a whole, looking back, was a miscalculation. Now, of course, we have the benefit of hindsight, and we hope that the lessons learned from hindsight lead to foresight. That's one of the reasons I was willing to give my comments. I think there was an underestimation of, the black vote and the influence that the black vote would have as being a bellwether moving forward. So I do think, and it was a question I asked early on in the campaign to uppers. Nobody really never gave me a direct answer, and I don't even know if they had one, but I kept asking the question, were we really trying to win the state? Were we trying to be competitive? Or were we simply trying to do better than we did last time in 2016? Which I think was indicative of a lot of the decisions that were made, or calculations, shall we say. And I know that no campaign is perfect and nobody can predict everything, but there should have been, spider senses going off, bells and alarms, whistles, red flags raised to know the importance of that type of event, or even South Carolina, the state as a whole, as it relates to African Americans.
And he went on to, of course, explain the Jim Clyburn angle and how...
Okay. And so obviously you guys know what happened in South Carolina, right? Like Bernie was winning all these states and then he got to South Carolina and he lost. And yes, Jim Clyburn's endorsement of Joe Biden was a big part of that, right? But Bernie didn't ask Jim Clyburn for an endorsement either, but I don't think Jim Clyburn would have endorsed Bernie Sanders. That being said, that's not the only reason he lost. As someone who lived in South Carolina, people have to know it's one of the oldest electorates. There are a lot of black people that live in South Carolina. Bernie lost because he lost the black vote. And so what I see happening with this oligarchy tour, I'm looking at these places that they're going to: Denver, Omaha, Nebraska. And I guess the plan was to go to districts that Biden won in 2020, but I guess Trump was able to swing this time around or whatever. But I would say, why are you not focusing on the black community, knowing that the Democratic Party cannot win without the black vote? I will also add to that, considering that Kamala Harris did not go to Dearborn, Michigan, and Jason, I know you were there. Why in the world are you not in Dearborn, Michigan, right? Because it's not like the Democratic Party still needs to win Michigan. And you can't win Michigan without the Detroit area and the Detroit suburbs. You just can't. So again, you have to remember the population. To me, it's just very weird. It's like, so what I have heard from black people is that they feel like, once again, Bernie Sanders is prioritizing the white working class. I want to go to you, Zeneb, on that.
Definitely, man. I saw they're not going to marginalized communities. If I was organizing this tour, I'd have started in Flint, and then I would have gone to Appalachia, and then I would have gone to somewhere like South Carolina, maybe some of these places that have been hit by these storms and floods. And yeah, I'd have gone down to Alabama, Louisiana. Alabama was blue until 17 years ago. Yep. So, all these states were blue until the abandonment of the 50 state strategy. They disinvested. The Democratic Party strategically divested in black communities and poor Appalachian communities specifically. They targeted our areas because this is where the home of the workers' movement lived, was in these communities, really. And they stopped pouring money into us because they didn't have any money to get back from us. We couldn't donate billions to their campaigns. So their strategy was, focus on wealthy blue areas, mostly white suburbs, to help keep their party afloat. So yeah, I agree with that. I also think that, one of the problems I see with this is, again, us putting our eggs in the basket with a damn hero, a person, as being the identity of a movement instead of a policy. Like, AOC and Bernie are like the face of something. And I get the word oligarchy, just like Jason was mentioning earlier about that word. You're right. So, like, where's the policy, though? And I know Bernie still talks about some of the old policy, but the movement should be led with a policy, not necessarily a leader or a person, because every damn time we put our eggs in the basket in the movement with a person, especially, we're not seeing any more MLKs or Malcolm X. or Fred Hamptons. We ain't got those right now. We got the Bernies, we got the AOCs, you know, the faces we have of this movement. The reason that those leaders were amazing was because, like a W.B. Du Bois was talking about policy. The policy was front and center. What they want to change was front and center. That was the message. And that's not what we're seeing. So we're not seeing the message coming into the most impacted, most marginalized communities in this country. And we're not seeing the economic message. And we're not seeing this movement being led by policy that they want to change.
Really good point. Lack of demands as well. That's why people are asking, like, okay, we went to this rally. What do we do now? Right. Jason Call.
Well, Zane is absolutely right. We just had 4 years. I mean, why did Biden lose this election? Okay, so you put the genocide right up on top because people weren't having it anymore, and he absolutely lost the Muslim vote. But he also, the Biden administration, the Democrats, did nothing for people over 4 years. They really didn't. I mean, can you imagine coming out of COVID when people were screaming for, can I have some stimulus checks? You want us to stay at home? Give me some money because I got to pay my rent. Give me some health care. I can't afford to, I can't afford to go to the doctor when my kids are sick. And of course, this hurts, as Zane was saying, it hurts rural communities and marginalized communities the most. What were the Democrats doing over 4 years of the Biden administration to actually help improve people's material conditions? And the answer was next to nothing. And the Democratic stalwarts want to trot out a couple of things that they might have gotten passed. And look, that wasn't nothing. But did you seriously improve people's conditions? No. You improved the conditions of the billionaire class, and most people continue to suffer over 4 years, and then you capped off your administration by slaughtering hundreds of thousands of innocent people. So the Democrats could have won this election. We were screaming at them for a year, stop killing people in other countries, and they would not do it. And we told them months and months and months leading up to the election, stop killing people and you might have a chance to win. And throughout November 5th, they just kept on with the same policies. Meanwhile, people are going, why are we bombing people in other countries while I can't afford to feed my kids and we got 43 million people still in student debt? These are basic, go back to Bill Clinton, who said it's the economy, stupid, right? But he wasn't wrong about that. It's the economy, stupid. And people, too many people in this country are struggling, and the mask came off during the Biden administration. Now, that defaulted to Trump, but it wasn't Trump winning so much as it was the Democrats losing. And the numbers really bear that out with the people who stayed home in the election. And here's the thing, the Democrats are not going to figure this out on purpose. And that's why we have to be outside the Democratic Party.
Ron, what's your take on this?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think those criticisms raised in the segment are absolutely valid, and we see this playbook over and over again in the Democratic Party in various ways. I mean, we see it in Bernie not hitting South Carolina the way he needed to. We see it in Hillary Clinton didn't go to Pennsylvania or Wisconsin. Kamala Harris with Michigan. You see it over and over and over again. And what's really going on here? Well, at the end of the day, the Democratic Party is basically just a giant fundraising machine that fundraises off the idea that, hey, we're not these really, really terrible people that we beat maybe half the time because we live in, as Gore Vidal put it, the United States of amnesia. The Republicans are pretty brutal, so you take a chance on the Democrats again. They do absolutely nothing, so you take a chance on the Republicans again. Rinse and repeat. It's this volley of neoliberalism and neo-fascism. We're the ping pong ball getting batted back and forth. Here's the problem, though. No one's actually trying to win the volley. They're just happy to bat it back and forth. So it's a huge freaking problem. I think also, side note, to revisit something from a little earlier, I think we need to get away from the Tea Party analogies, because here's the deal. The Tea Party was a Koch-funded wet dream. They had money and they had power. We don't have that. We don't have that at all. And that the DNC is set up so that a progressive takeover isn't really possible. So yeah, these thousands of people, which is an encouraging thing, we need to move them into effective areas. What are effective areas? Mutual aid, running for city council, joining a policy-oriented group, joining an activist group in your community, getting involved. I mean, hell, even just volunteering at an animal shelter. I mean, start as small as you frickin' need to, but kind of get out there, go to a protest, go on strike. This is what needs to happen, you know. And so when we talk about leadership, it is a balancing act, right? Because no leadership whatsoever, well, you just got, it's like herding squirrels. You're not going to get anywhere. But if you focus on leadership and deities, well, then you're just going to get led astray too. So what you need is you kind of need a balance of both. And when I think of leaders, I think of the Lucy Parsons, I think of the Emma Goldmans, I think of the Eugene Debs, I think of Malcolm X, I think of MLK. Those are leaders. And, you know, you can go back to the last time we had a transformational moment in this country, which was arguably the New Deal. Was FDR a leader? Not in the movement sense, not at all. In the electoral sense, yeah, he was a president, but he was not a movement leader. He just had foresight. The leaders were the socialists, the communists, the anarchists, the union leaders, the working class who were out there with their pitchforks. And FDR pointed to his rich friends and said, see them out there? You're going to give up something or you're going to give up everything. You frickin' choose. And that's how we got a New Deal. So that's the type of leadership we frickin' need.
That's right. Jason, what's your take on all of this?
Well, I wanted to double down on the diversity problem that Bernie seems to be having, because I think there are implications in that will determine how we are able to spread an effective left-wing message for the broader electorate of this country. So the first thing I would say is that I think the elephant in the room about why Bernie is not going to Black cities or communities is that I think that is just reflective of a broader complacent attitude that the Democratic Party has. And make no mistake, Bernie and AOC are doing this tour as representatives for the Democratic Party. They are subtly trying to sell the party's brand. But it's this sort of condescending attitude they have towards Black voters that they just think that their votes are sort of in the bag already. So like, why are we going to focus on trying to like double down on getting like an infinitesimal more extra percentage, like a marginal percentage more of like the Black vote, when we have to like, you know, re-win, you know, white men without college degrees that are in Nebraska and all of these, you know, states in the middle of the country. So they don't really think that they have to do a lot of outreach. And I don't think they could have an analysis that is more profoundly mistaken, particularly when it comes to, I'm going to focus on the Black community in particular, because I know that one a little bit better, but I think this is true among other immigrant and minority populations in the United States. But and this explains why part of why Bernie was unable to carry South Carolina and a lot of the southern states because of their large Black electorates in the 2020 primaries, because a lot of those marginal communities, despite being the people that would benefit the most from more left-wing economic policies, have some of the highest degrees of skepticism towards anything that is labeled like politically or economically radical. And this is a disconnect that has been true throughout centuries of American history. Like you go back to the early 20th century, and other than the NAACP, I don't think there was any other organization of a national scale. I'll put some labor unions. Actually, no, I'm not going to put the labor unions because they were deeply racist for a very long time in American history. But the Communist Party of the United States, they were out front in the 1910s, 1920s against lynching, against segregation, having Black leaders in their organizations, taking up international Black causes and linking them to Black subjugation in the United States. They went over and above out of their way to try and get Black people to see that, you know, they had a lot to gain from more left-wing politics, but Black involvement in any sort of radical leftist politics at that point was shockingly low, much lower than what they had expected. And obviously the dynamics aren't exactly the same today. And there is a lot of misinformation about what is genuinely economically and politically radical. Like most of the things that Bernie became famous for promoting, as we all know, are pretty common in every other advanced democracy. But because of how far right the center of the American political spectrum is in this country, they can be labeled as and seen as radical. It's going to take a lot of outreach and a lot of work to, in a non-condescending way, educate and inform groups that might have misunderstandings about what they have to gain from these policies and what these policies exactly are, especially as Ron and, we've talked about it in different contexts, the massive, well-financed disinformation machine that is being promulgated by the right wing in this country. It's going to take so much extra effort to try and give people proper information about what their political options are, what their alternatives are, and what the substance of these programs and that we're trying to put in front of them are, and how they can actually benefit from them. So I think the Democrats make at their own peril, a really terrible strategic mistake, thinking that all they have to do is have a couple rallies with a lot of the college, white, educated liberals that already agree with them, and take no extra effort to actually think about where are the disconnects happening with our messaging. Because right now they think that Trump and his gang of billionaires are better representatives of the working class than the literal party of FDR. So we need to be thinking about that. And I think if you're not thinking about how you solve that for Black populations, Sab, as you said, the Democrats did really underperform, not just with the Black vote, but with a ton of minority votes in this election. And if you just keep ignoring that and just assume that, because of the color of their skin, they're kind of going to be in the bag for us, we don't have to spend that much time thinking about how do we actually communicate to these people. Let's just focus on Meemaw and Peepaw or whatever that is. I think they're going to continue to lose not just elections, but I think popular support.
I agree with everything that was said. I think everybody brought really good points to the table. And one thing that I want to add just to wrap it up is that I think that there are, I guess I don't want to call them the couch voters, but the people who stayed home. These people stayed home for a reason. And I think that what is happening is that, to Jason's point and to some of the points you guys made, the people who are coming out are the people who most likely voted anyway. So it's like, in order to undo what was done, you really have to reach the people who stayed at home. And there was a good portion of Black Americans that stayed home. The Democratic Party has continued to lose the Black vote since Obama 2012. It has continued to decline. I've watched this over the years, and you can't win without that, right? So there's that. You lost more of the Latino vote. There's an issue there. You lost young voters. So there's an issue with that as well. But the people who stayed home for a reason. And it's really interesting to me. I'm glad that people are pumped up to fight back against corporate greed and billionaires and all that. I do worry, though, that people have this conception that this is only an issue with the Republican Party and not also with the Democratic Party. And I also worry that the communities that should have been touched first, like to Zainab's point, Flint, big one, easy. That's easy, right? They are being ignored once again. So it's just, there's a number of things here. It's like, if you go to a city like Denver, obviously, there's only going to be a certain segment of the population there. I know, I already looked at the demographics. So it's kind of easy, right? And I also think that all of us that came from that Bernie movement, I think that the crowd sizes made me believe something was going to happen that did not happen. When Super Tuesday came in Massachusetts, I was shocked that Joe Biden won Massachusetts, because I didn't see any Biden signs. I saw a lot of Bernie signs, but that said something to me. It really made me think that okay, all those people I saw at the rallies that were with me, did all of that transfer into votes? And if it did, where did all the Biden support and stuff come from? So again, it's I think someone mentioned it on the panel earlier tonight that we're a small segment of the population. I think those of us who are the leftists are a small segment of the population. And even though a lot of people will say they want Medicare for all, does it transfer into votes? And that's another thing I'm noticing, is that people are not coming out. They did not come out during those primaries heavily to make that known. So I think that the big consensus I think I'm sensing from the panel is that there should be focus on these communities that have been ignored, a lot of these marginalized communities, poor communities, and that also, to Ron's point, we should be pushing people into areas where they can do something on their own and not put hope in one person, which is what I see happening with people again, whether it's that's pushing people towards mutual aid or city council. City council controls the budget, by the way, guys.
Yeah.
That's a kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
Kind of a big deal. City council, organizing, like that type of thing. I'm going to be starting mutual aid workshops in April to teach people how to do mutual aid in their cities. And mutual aid is something that is needed. And I don't think a lot of people realize that just going to vote for someone, doesn't help people when they go on strike. When people go on strike, they have to have mutual aid. When people are struggling to pay for groceries, they need mutual aid. Like, there are a lot of ways that we can help each other within the community. And I think that just hoping that one person is going to be your hero, I don't think that's the answer. I don't believe that anybody is a hero. So that's the one thing that I do worry about. But I think it's good that people are upset, right, with the billionaires. I want everyone to give a exit remark. Ron, let me start with you because I know you have a hard out.
I have a set. Yeah, it's still early here on the West Coast, and I do have a set where I need to trek across Los Angeles, but I'm not going too far. I to kind of just echo on what you said and give some closing thoughts here. I do believe that now is the time for movements. Now is the time for strikes. Now is the time for protests. Now is the time to think very much out of the electoral box. Or if electoralism is your lane, that's fine too. We need everything, but let's be strategic about it. Let's go after those school boards. Let's go after those city councils. Let's go after those mayorship positions, because really, federally, we don't really have much in our corner right now, and that's by design. And to really change it, that requires changing the rules. It requires getting money out of politics. It requires getting ranked choice voting all across the country. It requires, starting at the grassroots level. So I am cautiously optimistic that that's the direction we're going to go in, because we really have no choice at this point. We are undergoing a coup where they're replacing something bad with something even worse. And the big scale of things, that's what is going on right now. So you kind of realize, well, the one thing we can all take away from what's happening right now is how fragile this flawed, rugged neoliberal experiment is. And if you can replace it with something worse, well, guess what? You can replace it with something better too. That's also a possibility. Not right now, but slowly but surely, that's a possibility too. So it was awesome having conversation with all you. Jason, you're new to me. It's good to meet you. Good to know you. And the rest of you I know already, so no surprises. But no, you're all awesome. And I will reiterate, hey, I go around, I do shows. If you're in San Diego, April 4th and 5th, I'll be there. Seattle, I'll be there May 23rd. Jason, I'm hoping I see you in some of the Seattle Greens there. And I do have a movie out. If you like movies that call out the Wall Street machine under a nice story about family, that's a fun indie comedy, check out my movie. It's called Left at Wall. You can get it all kinds of places: Apple TV, YouTube Movies, Google Play, Xbox. Just Left at Wall, type it in on your smart TV, you'll get it. And thank you so much for having me. Good to see everybody.
Thank you so much, Ron.
Likewise, Ron.
Jason Call, there's something you wanted to plug?
Yeah, okay, so I am campaign manager for Butch Ware, a radical black Muslim who is running for governor of California, and we are having a live stream this Saturday, the 29th. It's at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be having Jen Perelman, who ran for Congress in Florida's 24th, I think it was, against Debbie Wasserman Schultz a couple of times. Guy Christensen, my favorite guy, TikToker, is going to be with us. And to follow along with what Ron was saying, we're going to be joined by Gabe Medina, who's on the Monterey, California school board. And Omaha, Nebraska has Anthony Rogers Wright, who is a Green Party member. He's black. He's a socialist. and he is running for Omaha City Council, and his primary is on the 1st, which I believe is next Tuesday. So if you're in the Omaha area and you want to help out Anthony Rogers Wright, please do. I do want to say this about Omaha. I was just there earlier in the week visiting with Anthony. They have started socialist teach-ins, socialist classes, a series of 6 classes there, and they maxed out their room their very first class, like at capacity. So there is hope in some of these red areas. Nebraska is very, very red, but there is hope, and there's a wide lane for us to grow this movement. Solidarity is important outside the duopoly. I would ask the left to stop punching at each other and start organizing together. But please join the live stream, butchwareforgov.org, and hope to see you there. Sabby, it's been fantastic. Thank you. Zaina, great to see you again. And Jason, awesome to meet you. I think you're amazing.
Thanks, guys. Nice to meet you.
All right. Thank you, Jason. Zainab, anything you want to plug?
Yeah, just a couple of things. You guys can check out, I've got some pieces coming out. I actually have a piece on what we were kind of discussing today in response to what it's going to take to run Indy, the history of the 50-state strategy. I talk about like state ballot access and things like that a lot of people kind of don't know about when it comes to running for office. I also have we have this huge project coming up with Lila and Pat from Punch Up Pod. And we are going to be doing a 10-part series on the techno-monarchy and those creeps like Curtis Yarvin, Peter Thiel. But we're going to be talking about the Democratic Party's new branding too. Their whole new abundance as recline strategy is just repackaged techno-monarchy. So we're going to be covering all of that kind of stuff in a big 10-part series. And in August, so you guys can go to bullhornbulletin.com, follow me there, Status Quo News, Zainab Day on Twitter. In August, I'm going to start doing candidate trainings for just about anyone that wants to come for free. So I'll be putting out free videos and things like that on my on Bullhorn Bulletin and videos. I'm super excited about it. I wanted to do it before. And then I got all like electoral sucks. I'm going to do other kinds of organizing. But I feel like there's an opportunity to take local offices and things like that. And there's not a lot of material out there on organizing and training people to do it. So I'm hoping I can throw in some ways I can help. And it'll be for free. And yeah.
All right. Thank you, Zainab.
Jason, it was so nice to meet you.
Likewise.
Jason, anything you want to plug?
Yeah, I'd say the main thing is my YouTube, Truth is Speaking. I release new videos every week. I actually have a couple that will be coming out probably next week. I'm particularly dealing with the sort of attacks Trump has been making on the judiciary, the courts, the rule of law. I think there are a lot of things that a lot of people don't know about just exactly how fragile our system is and just how much Trump and his allies in Congress, how much power they have to basically totally upend the rule of law if they chose to do so, like make it impossible for courts, including the Supreme Court, to review executive orders, not hear any sort of cases on any sort of constitutional issues, including free speech or due process. There are all these things that I'm trying to educate people on, sort of dipping into my legal background and my general political commentary. So Truth is Speaking, my YouTube, please check it out. Also follow me on Twitter. It's the same handle. And my only closing thoughts that I would say, echoing the other Jason, is yes, we gotta close ranks on the left. There will be a time to hash out all of our many policy differences. That time will come. It's an important conversation we need to have, but right now we have to stop the coup and all the bad things that this current administration is trying to do. And thank you, Sapp, for having me on again.
Thank you, Jason. I'm going to be speaking at Harvard Law School. I don't think I got a chance to tell you that.
Awesome.
First week of April. Yeah.
Okay, I'll be there. I'll follow up with you on the details for that, but that'll be awesome.
All righty. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed that panel. We do have 5 stories. Yeah, 5 stories that we are going to cover tonight because I'm not going to be live Friday evening. I got some other plans. I actually have a mutual aid thing Saturday morning. I got to get up pretty early and drive to another part of the state. But anyway, So I'm not going to be live Friday night. So we got 5 other stories that we're going to cover. Tonight's theme is what's going on. In the words of Marvin Gaye, what is going on? We'll get into those other stories. Let's get to the comments first. Thank you, Chris, for the super chat. Hi, Sabby. Today's my 39th birthday. It's been a full year of RBN and other indie left media. Thank you for everything you do. Also, congrats, JB. Well, happy birthday. Everyone tell Chris happy birthday. All right. You're almost at the big 4-0. Thank you, Sip Sauce. Hello, everyone. Thank you. Thanks, Justin. To Zeneb's comments, the Green Party Green Congressional Campaign Committee is working towards running Greens for Congress all over the country, including red states. It's time to send a Green to Congress. That's good to hear. Thank you, Anthony. Cori Bush is a whack job faith healer, and Tlaib is a career politician Democrat. The two best they have to offer are both NATO warmongers. No thanks. And thank you, Justin. Could we lobby Rashida Tlaib to re-register as a Green? I think we could if we would organize together to do it. That's an interesting question. Might be good to talk to Jason Call about that. And thank you, Where's the Love? The actions of the Democratic Party clearly demonstrate that it no longer wants Black Americans, especially FBAs, within its party. Interesting takes there, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't done so, do me a favor and smash that like button. Thank you. If you're new, don't forget to like, sub, and share, just like a Care Bear. Okay, we are moving on to our first news story. This one hits home for me. A Tufts University student was detained the other day. She was a part of the pro-Palestinian protest. And wait till you see the way that she was detained. Let's go ahead and bring in this clip here from Case Study QB. Shout out to Case doing the damn thing. Check this out, fam.
Okay, we are back now with the arrest of another international student expressing pro-Palestinian sentiments. A Turkish national enrolled in a PhD program at Tufts University, detained by DHS Tuesday night while walking down the street. She's now being held at an ICE facility in Louisiana, and immigration authorities say there are grounds for her visa to be terminated. NBC's Antonia Hilton has this one.
This is the moment Tufts University graduate student Rumaisa Ozturk was arrested and taken into federal custody. Doorbell camera footage obtained by NBC News shows 2 plainclothes officers approaching the 30-year-old in Somerville outside of Boston. Ozturk at first appears to back away before more agents approach, one eventually taking her phone out of her hand. Officers then take her backpack off, handcuff her, and lead her across the street to a car. An onlooker heard questioning why the officers' faces are covered. Ozturk's lawyer says she was on her way to break Ramadan fast with friends on Tuesday night when she was detained without explanation. She says her client, a Turkish national, was in the U.S. working toward a PhD in child study and human development on a valid F1 visa, which allows foreign nationals to pursue academics without the intention of immigration. In a statement, the Department of Homeland Security today, writing in part, DHS and ICE investigations found Ozturk engaged in activities in support of Hamas, a foreign terrorist organization that relishes the killing of Americans.
So do you see what they're doing, guys? This is what I was warning people about, right? Like, basically what they're doing, if you participated in those pro-Palestinian protests, they're defining that as you were participating in supporting Hamas, right? So they're just coming after people. We already talked about Mahmoud Khalil, but there have been a number of them now.
Verifying and supporting terrorists who kill Americans is grounds for visa issuance to be terminated. DHS did not reference specific incidents, but in March of last year, Ozturk co-authored an op-ed for Tufts student newspaper, condemning the university's dismissive nature and condescending tone when responding to calls for the school to acknowledge the Palestinian genocide and divest from companies with direct or indirect ties to Israel.
See, I think that was the thing that really pushed it over. You know, they're coming after people also that are calling for divestment. They're calling for these universities to divest. They're coming after them as well, right? Like they're seeing that almost as like a slur. It's really crazy. It's insane. Don't forget that it was students at college campuses that rose up and asked to, divest from apartheid South Africa at the time. And that was fine because it was South Africa. But now that you're asking that of Israel, that's where the U.S. government really draws the line, and they see that as a problem.
Ozturk's attorney says no charges have been filed to her knowledge and that she's been unable to contact her client. ICE detention records updated today say that Ozturk is now in ICE custody in Basile, Louisiana. Tufts president says the school had no pre-knowledge of this incident and did not share any information with federal authorities prior to the event. Adding, from what we have been told subsequently, the student's visa status has been terminated, and we seek to confirm whether that information is true. The arrest comes on the heels of the high-profile detention of Columbia grad student activist and permanent resident Mahmoud Khalil in New York, spreading fear in the community.
The fact that someone can just be disappeared into the abyss for voicing an idea is absolutely horrifying.
Now, I'm going to show you the actual video of her being detained because this gentleman here, shout out to Daniel, I've obtained new footage of the abduction of Tufts student Ranisa Ozturk, which includes audio of her kidnappers. Now, one of the things you guys may have noticed, you don't see them, really identifying who they are, right? They were wearing masks. So that could have been anyone coming up to you, grabbing you off the street. And also, why are ICE agents all of a sudden now wearing masks? They weren't wearing masks before, at least not here in Massachusetts. They weren't wearing them before. So why are they wearing them now? So these are questions that people need to ask, but I want you to hear this so you can hear the full audio and the person who captured this video. See this guy, they just covered the face. Why are you covering your face? So this could be anyone coming to you saying we're taking you away.
You guys covering your faces? You want to take those masks off? Is this a kidnapping? Yeah, you don't look like it. Why are you hiding your faces? Why are you hiding your faces? Can I see some faces here? How do I know this is the police? Seems like bullshit to me. Certainly looks like it.
So that's either Somerville or Medford, because I see the blue street signs. Tufts, part of Tufts University is in Medford and part of it is in Somerville. It's kind of weird, but I used to live in Somerville, so I'm familiar.
Bit of a kidnapping going on here.
So you see this? Yeah, so shout out to the guy who got this video footage. So that was them just wearing street clothes and wearing masks. I mean, they could have been anyone, like, why would you just say, okay, I'm going to go with you? So they detained her. Now, there have been multiple protests in Somerville a large crowd of people demanding that she is returned. I mean, it's a big call to action. Again, shout out to my old community, Somerville here. Mike Connolly said, standing with thousands of Somerville residents to denounce the sickening, unlawful abduction of Tufts graduate student Ramisa Ozturk. So you can see here's part of that crowd here.
Come for one, face us all! Free Ramisa, free them all! Come for one, face us all! Free Ramisa, free them all! Come for one, face us all! Free Ramisa, free them all! Come for one, face us all! Free Ramisa, free them all!
Here today because they are being targeted for being an immigrant, and they wanted me to share with you all just a small sense of what immigrant communities in Somerville and around the country are experiencing every single day.
Okay, so that's one of the videos there of the protest. Here's another one. Here, a gentleman who was also present, World Socialist website, gathered this footage.
I'm glad so many people are showing up for this. You know, they're targeting Somerville just because we're one of the most progressive cities in the country, and they want to get us scared, and it's obviously having the opposite effect. So I think we all got to keep up what we're doing. It's not anti-Semitic to be protesting genocide, obviously, you know, but this is the scare tactic they're using, and they're trying to, I don't know what they're trying to do. They're trying to consolidate wealth. The people with all the money have bought the Democratic Party too, especially the people up at the top, and nothing's going to change as long as they're making their money. I'm glad.
Yeah, he's 100% correct. And I will add this as well. Having lived in Somerville, I lived there for like 5 years. Somerville is very diverse. It's one of the, I think, best neighborhoods that you can live in the Boston area for like diversity and like great food. And it's a really cool place to live. Like I did enjoy living there. And a little tidbit that people may not know, the mayor of Somerville, when I lived there, his name was Joseph Caratoni. Joseph spoke out during the George Floyd protest, and he refused to remove the Black Lives Matter sign. And there was a lot of controversy over that. The Somerville PD wanted him to remove it, and he said, no, I'm not removing it from City Hall. And he said, because what Black people go through, especially, you know, having grown up in Somerville and what I've seen, he's like, no, we're not taking it down. These things need to be addressed. They need to be acknowledged, and we need to make some changes here. And I mean, Joseph Caratoni wasn't Black. So there was a lot of like controversy there, but he's not mayor anymore. But he was mayor there for quite some time, and he was willing to stand up and say, no, we got to do the right thing. So it is a very diverse community. And this particular speaker here, she pointed out something that the Democrats have a part to play in this. Listen to this.
Elizabeth Warren is not going to save you! The Democratic Party is not going to save you! They did not save Rumesa! She is detained! They did not save hundreds of thousands of my people murdered by U.S. bombs! This whole damn system has to go!
So that is very powerful, and that makes me hopeful that people are starting to see, yeah, these people, I told you guys, they're not heroes. These people are not going to save you. I don't know where Elizabeth Warren is, but you would have hoped that maybe she would have been at that rally, or she would be more vocal about what's happening here in particular. But I think a lot of younger people are starting to get the picture, and I want to show you something. All these people they have detained, again, Israel priority. There was Mahmoud Khalil, right? So he was the first one that a lot of people knew about. This woman here, Yunseo Chung, She was another one, Columbia University. However, for her sake, a federal judge blocked it and said that no, she cannot be detained. Right. So that was another one. These, I don't know if you guys heard of all of them. Mamadou Tal, who I believe was on RBN at one point. He was a student at Cornell. He was arrested by ICE for being at a pro-Palestinian protest. So he was another one that they detained. I told you, like, they're just going after who are the people at the protest. And now you see Rumisa has been detained. So we have a serious problem here, ladies and gentlemen. Another one, Bader Khan, an Indian national postdoc fellow at Georgetown University, was also abducted by ICE for disagreeing about Gaza. We talked about Dr. Rasha, who was detained from Brown University. I mean, it's just, the list goes on, and people aren't hearing about all of them. Alireza, Iranian PhD student at the University of Alabama, was detained by ICE. And again, I just want people to know, like, we don't know what is happening to those people once they are detained. We don't know how they're treating them. We don't know if I would assume they're not treating them well. We don't know what has happened to those people. I know some of the lawyers are trying to get a hold of them. And then you'll see here, this is Eric from World Socialist website. He had something to say here as well at the protest.
And the last thing I would say is that the capitulation of the Democratic Party to the Trump administration is shameful. Well, it would be shameful, except that we don't expect anything better from them in the first place. So what we would say is that's not the social force to which we're appealing. All the old talk of abolish ICE, that's just for the midterms. It's just a bunch of lies. If democracy is going to be defended, it's not going to come from the Democratic Party. It's going to come from you, and it's going to come from the working people in this country who are about to realize what's coming. And so that's our position.
Yeah, I'm glad that people are seeing this for what it really is. Now, I just want to remind you of something, and shout out to Miriam. This was under the Biden administration in May 2024, the second NYPD raid of Columbia's campus in 2 weeks. What we are seeing now is the culmination of the bipartisan efforts to criminalize every aspect of our student movement. So what people have to remember, when you see this, remember this? Under Biden, remember all the NYPD police officers coming in to Columbia under Biden? Okay, we want to show you that because they have a point here. National Students Justice for Palestine. Remember that Biden laid the groundwork for the Trump regime by facilitating the violent repression of student organizing. The neoliberal university, a microcosm of American empire, has never been a safe space. So what we are seeing, as I said before, if the Democratic Party wasn't willing to speak out when this was happening, when they were leading, what did we think was going to happen under the Republican Party? When you basically give the green light, it's just like when the Biden administration wasn't willing to stop the killing. You gave the green light for the Trump administration to come in and say, okay, let's just get rid of all of the rest of them then, which it sounds like that's what Israel's trying to do. So when the party that is supposed to represent the left or the working class, which it really doesn't, when they fail, what do you think the opposition party is going to do? When you tell them that it's okay to treat people this way, what do you expect to happen? And that's how you get here. So it's unfortunate what's been happening. It's very scary times. And I don't know. I caution everybody, anyone who, it seems like they're mainly going after students right now, but that doesn't mean they're not going to go after professionals as well. So if you are in this country and you are on a visa and you participated in any of the pro-Palestinian protests, I'll be very cautious because you just don't know. They could come for you. And I want to point out something. A lot of people were talking about Trump's going to do these mass deportations. According to the numbers, there hasn't been a mass deportation. That hasn't happened. Instead, what you do have are controversial detainees, people who are being detained in a controversial manner. So it's giving a lot of news to it, right? It's newsworthy. So people are like, oh, look what's happening. And we're talking about these stories. But there hasn't been a mass deportation. They are targeting specific people. So keep that in mind. This is why I say, the theme was what's going on. Because this is insane. And I want to let you guys know something. As someone who has worked at these university systems, you would be surprised how many of these schools depend on international students in order to even turn a profit. And I'm not trying to be funny about that, but a number of them here, particularly in Massachusetts, they depend on the international student population for enrollment purposes because they cannot get financial aid. And their parents have to prove that they can pay for tuition for the first, those full 4 years. They have to prove that they can pay for that. So a lot of those universities depend on the international students to kind of come here and foot the bill. And if this kind of thing continues, more and more international students may say, actually, I don't feel comfortable going to college in the United States right now. Maybe I'll just go to college here at home. So when we talk about the economy and we talk about how things are going to have an impact on the economy, that's something you guys need to know. And I only know that because I worked in higher ed for over 10 years. And I've been on admissions committees. I'm trying to tell you, without the international students, many of these colleges would fall. So it's crazy stuff, guys. Crazy times. Let's go to some of the comments here. Thank you, Zeneb. I'm always bad at closeouts, but mean to say thanks for hosting this panel, Sabs, and let's keep raising hell. Boycott, strikes, it all starts local. This is true. At Kid said, Sabby, notice anything to do with Israel is now top priority. ICE deportations, RFK Jr. announcements on Twitter about anti-Semitism. Israel has a higher priority over folks living in America. Why? Yeah, I think you guys know why. I told you guys. It's not us first. DC Fairbanks says thought crimes. Angelique says, I remember Caratoni. He was the best. Yeah, he was a pretty good mayor. Thank you, Jay, for the super sticker. Tia says, Dad is looking it up now, but ICE also grabbed a Black woman. Yeah. And not to mention some of the people that have been grabbed aren't even immigrants. They don't always get this right. Thank you, Pine. First, Zionism shredded the constitutional principle of separation of church and state. Now it's American freedom of speech that's being destroyed. Crimes of the empire come home. Thank you, Feral Unicorn. This is some Pol Pot shit. Yeah, it's crazy, guys. Whoops, sorry. I think I selected the wrong one. I don't know what I did there. Sorry about that. Yeah, crazy times. You guys I'm telling you, just be prepared. Because again, they may start with the students and then make it elsewhere. All right. All right, guys, if you haven't done so, smash that like button. Thank you. If you're new, don't forget to like, sub, and share. And we're moving on to the next story. This is a bonus story, and this is a doozy. And just bear with me because I got some things to say. This one really got me heated, and I think you might get heated too when you see the video. So I told you guys before that I grew up in the church. And I remember a lot of things about going to church, growing up in the church. My grandmother sang in the choir, all these types of things. I went to Sunday school. I went to Bible study. I did the whole thing. Okay. And some of you watching probably did too. So I went through all of that. One of the things that I have taken issue with is I don't like how the church went from this is a place where you're supposed to come as you are, and then you can hear the word of God. And the church was helping people in the community. Like back in the day, churches were really about that, like helping people in the community. If you needed help, I remember they helped like a family like pay for their mortgage. I remember there was another family that was one of the parents was laid off and they helped them get a job. Like this is what churches really used to be about. And over the years, I noticed that some of these pastors decided to become rich and famous off of being a pastor. And they are pastors of a lot of these mega churches, and they've made a lot of money. TD Jakes is one of them. Joel Osteen is one of them. They sell books, they're on TV, etc. And so it's like it went from giving back to the community and this being an open door with open arms to let me see how much money I can make. And that happened recently with pastor and gospel singer Marvin Sapp. Now, I've seen some things, but I never saw anything like this. This is the lowest of the low. So when I saw this, I said, what's really going on? Get this, guys. Marvin Sapp instructs ushers to close church doors until the congregation ponies up $40,000. This is not a joke. This is not a comedy set. I am dead serious. This happened. And that is Marvin Sapp for those who are not aware. Let's get into this. Marvin Sapp's $40,000 goal has social media questioning the integrity of his church. In an undated clip circulating online, the 58-year-old instructed ushers to close the doors of his church, demanding both online and in-person worshipers give $20 to reach the high dollar total before leaving service. Let's pause here for just a second. So typically the way that this works for those who did not grow up in the church like I did, typically the way that this works is that when you go to church on Sunday, there's a collection plate that comes around throughout the congregation, and you're supposed to donate your tithe. Now, the tithe is supposed to be like 10% of what you make, but honestly, a lot of times you throw in like $1, you throw in what you have, what you can give. And there shouldn't be pressure to do that. No one should be pressured to give something they don't have. It is not policy for you to donate money in the collection plate because you attended a church service. That's not policy. It's not standard. It's not required. But the idea is that you want to give back. And this is the money that's supposed to go to the church and all this types of stuff. Now, that being said, there have been times when I have been in a church service as an adult in my early 20s, where the pastor tried to shame people for not putting money in the collection plate. First of all, when people come through the doors, you don't know what they coming from, what type of situation that they're in. You don't know how much money that they have in their pocket. Someone could be coming right off the street and they just need to hear a message that maybe could, I don't know, give them some type of hope, or maybe hopefully change their life. Like I said, churches used to give back and put into the community. But now a lot of these churches, especially those mega churches, these pastors are trying to find ways to make all this money instead of them putting that money back out into the community. So you don't know what someone's financial situation is. And to pressure people to put money in the church, that made me feel some kind of way. Like for the pastor to get up there and say, well, you need to donate this money, or, God's not going to like it if you walk out of here and you don't put money in the plate. And I remember sitting there saying to myself, like, really? Like, what is this? You know what I mean? So, or the stares that you get from people. And if you guys have grown up, you know what I'm talking about. There's sometimes people would stare at you as they're handing you the plate And it's like they're looking and waiting to see if you put something in. And then if you don't put something in, then they just kind of look at you like what is this? What have these churches become? Let's go back into this article here. I'll get into what he said in a second because I'm going to play the video. But what he's basically said was close the doors. We all going to leave together. And again, that's Marvin Sapp. Oh, boy, boy, boy. You can see here's a tweet. Marvin Sapp is clearly hustling his congregation for $40,000 and using God's name to do it. He's calling for the doors to be locked. That's not faith. That's a shakedown and a false prophet. Someone had a bill to pay, and it wasn't the church. You can see here's a comment here. Did I just see a video of Marvin Sapp telling ushers to close the doors and no one could leave until everyone sowed a seed totaling $40,000? What is happening? The usher who shared one of the most viral posts of the incident on X uploaded the video with the caption, Marvin Sapp is clearly hustling his congregation for $40,000 and using God's name to do it. He's calling for the doors to be locked. That's not faith. That's a shakedown and a false prophet. Someone had to pay the bill. Like I thought he was just a singer. Black churches need to stand up against mess like this. They be sitting down and unhun, knowing this is BS. They added in the replies. Other who shared and responded to the post had a similar reaction. Rico the Kin said, I promise I would have called the police and screamed, I'm being kidnapped. So let's talk about something here. And it's not just a problem with the Black church. Like I said, I mentioned Joel Osteen as well. There's been controversies with his church where he didn't want to open up the doors during Hurricane Katrina, right? No, I don't want to bring them in here. Oh, God, right? There's a lot of money to be made when it comes to religion if you do it right. And this is something I think sometimes people may not understand. When I was growing up, I remember my mom, she used to watch like these televangelists like on TV sometimes. And then you'd hear stories years later that this guy was like a con artist and he got all this money from people, but he was a pastor and he conned a lot of people out of the money. Let me give you a little bit of a tip, fam. If you go to the church, right, and everybody else in the congregation, pretty much working class, doing their best that they can do. But the pastor show up and he driving a brand new car with fancy rims and he got on a gold watch and he have on nice jewelry and he wearing an expensive suit. What's really going on? Where's the money really going? Because that's what people like TD Jakes has been able to do. That's what people like Joel Osteen has been able to do. Don't forget about Creflo Dollar. Creflo Dollar at one point had his own jet. Now, are these guys preaching the word of God? Or are they just trying to make money? Anytime you're sitting in the congregation and you look up and the pastor got all this, pastor has a really nice big house, fancy car, nice rims, bling, bling, jewelry. Pastor's kids get to go to private school and you and your kids have to have reduced lunch or free school lunch. Something ain't right. Because like I said before, the church is supposed to give back to the community. It shouldn't really be the other way around where these pastors are living this way. Now I'm going to show you this video and you let me know how you feel, because couldn't have been me. Because the moment he said lock those doors, could not have been me. Now, this is Marvin Sapp. Listen to this.
And they understand the cost that is involved. There's 1,000 of you. I said, close them doors. Ushers, close the doors. Close the doors. Close the doors.
Close the doors, he says. You know, close the doors. In the words of Marvin Gaye, what is going on? Close the doors, he tells the ushers. I'll be damned. You can close that door all you want to. If I want to get up and walk out, I'm walking out. This is kind of like his way of holding people hostage. Close the doors. Close the doors. Nobody leave until each one of you guys give me a 20. How many of you still carry cash? Because I don't. What would he have said to me? You can't leave until you donate $20. I'm like, man, if you don't get out my damn face. He probably would have said, God don't like ugly. I was like, God don't like people being kidnapped either. Listen to this.
We all gonna leave together. Y'all ain't going no place but to the restaurant. There's 1,000 of you tonight, and those that are watching, it's 1,000 that's watching online. This is a small seed. If I get 1,000 online to give this, if I get 1,000 in the sanctuary to give this, that's $40,000 tonight. I'm challenging each of you all down here to give a $20 seed. I just think $20 is a lot of money. $20, believe it or not, when my late wife Melinda P. Sapp was alive, was a good date. I could take her to the movies, buy a box of popcorn, get 1 soda, 2 straws. I wasn't cheap, that's swag. I was looking in her eyes, she's looking in mine. Can't do that no more. Now, everyone up here, we've all sold and seeded, but I need everyone standing up here with us, with me, to plant a seed of $100. Because again, it costs to sit up here. I got you.
It costs to sit up there. So all the people sitting up on the stage, he was like, it costs money for you to sit up here. What is this? What is this?
Let's see. So put your 20 away, preachers. That 20 wasn't for you. And this is what I need you to do. If you're giving electronically, or even if you're giving tangibly, I'm gonna have y'all come to the altar and give it, because I need to see 1,000 people moving.
So now you got to come to the altar to show him that you're actually donating money. What the hell is this? That doesn't seem godly like to me. I don't think Jesus would like that. What is happening here? This is a hustle. Close the doors. Give me your money. If you're paying electronically, you got to come up here because I want to see that you're actually doing it. For what? No.
Bring them baskets. I want the baskets up here. I want to see the folk. Y'all start moving. Y'all can bring it right now. Come. Even if you're giving tangibly, just put your hand on take your phone and stick it on the bucket. Shh. Giving is worship. Giving is worship. Giving is worship. Giving is.
See, that's the other thing too. Giving is worship. So if you're not giving, you're not worshiping. JB says this is a class issue when the class war heads of churches are on the side of the oppressor class.
It's worship. This ain't the time to talk. 1,000 people need to give $20. 1,000 people need to give $20. 1,000 people online need to give $20. This is easy, saints.
Easy for who? See, this is what I was talking about, and we can bring up the class issue here too. Sometimes people think when we mention class, some people think, oh, okay, well, we're talking about that on a going across all races, right? And sometimes we do when we talk about class, but there's also classism within the Black community as well. Like, how do you know everybody has $20 that they can donate? How do you know everybody that's leaving the church is going to the restaurant? When I went to the church when I was growing up, we went home. You know why? Because my mom made Sunday dinner. We didn't go out to eat like that, like when I was growing up. If we went out to eat, that was like a treat, but like my parents didn't spend money like that. So how do you know, Marvin? How do you know everybody got $20 that they can just give? I remember my grandma used to give her last. My grandma never missed a tithe. And my grandma lived in the projects in Baltimore, Maryland. My grandma, I know sometimes was struggling to pay the light bill. She didn't retire. My grandma worked until the day that she died. She couldn't afford to retire. Some of us can't. And I remember saying, like, Grandma, if you don't have it, you don't have to give it. If you ain't got it like that, you don't have to give it. And she's like, no, God wouldn't like that. And you give, and that's how you get back. And I just remember watching like my grandma just work her ass off. And my grandma got nothing in return. And I think about like when my grandma died, where were all the people at the church? All those Sundays when she was singing on the choir, I thought to myself, like, where are all the people from the church? Why y'all ain't at the funeral? After my grandma, everything that she did, like she gave her last, man. Most of them were nowhere to be found. Pastor got paid though. We can't continue to let this type of thing happen. We really can't. Like this really is a class issue.
This is an easy miracle. We should be able to raise $40,000 tonight just from y'all giving. That's it.
You know what is sad about this too? I'm thinking about that $40,000 and I'm thinking about how that money could have went to mutual aid. That's what I'm thinking about. Could have paid rent, helped some people pay the rent. But I'm just like, that's ridiculous. You don't lock people in. You don't demand that they give $20 each. People are free to come and leave as they want to. But what has happened to the church? What's going on? Church is supposed to be a place of worship. But from what I've seen over the years, church has become a business. And some people will see this and they'll say, well, those pastors have a right to do this and that if they want to. If they want to write a book, they can. Yeah, they can write a book if they want to and all those types of things. But if I'm looking around and I'm seeing that the pastor got all this stuff and the people in the congregation are struggling to put money in the collection plate, that don't seem even to me. That doesn't seem level. It just don't. Call me crazy. Sorry, but something ain't right. So a lot of people are talking about that clip right now. And I don't know. I think Marvin Sapp has some explaining to do. Let's go to the comments, ladies and gentlemen. Joe Harvey said crypto a dollar. Oh my God. Thank you, Dwayne. They are disappearing people. We have become Pinocchio's chili. Did I say Pinocchio? Pinochet's chili. Thank you. Sorry. I said Pinocchio. That's funny. Beyond Ebony, who's been a member for 4 months, says never would have paid it. Nah. Thank you, Covert White Rabbit. When fascism comes to America, it won't be at gunpoint. It will be carrying the Bible and wrapped in an American flag. We all know what we're seeing. Thank you, Justin. Marvin really got up and said, start the steal. Rocco, I still go to church in Newark, New Jersey, Whitney Houston's church. It's still a great church. It didn't succumb to this. That's good to know. That is good to know. I'm Judah says my dad was a pastor and he never preached like this. Yeah, makes you wonder, doesn't it? Thank you, Baby Ethernet. Salvation cost. And thank you, Blueser. I bet I would have got out that door. Cult shit. And the greatest shame is using your own community to get rich in the name of God. And thank you, Trash Panda. Run the jewels. Let's get the comment on Rockfin, Eric. Thank you. Oh my God. Thank you, Roger, for the tip on Rockfin. All agents of the government are supposed to present a badge. Did they? Does anyone know? Marches on college campuses, they say, are intimidating Jewish people. But has anyone heard of any police reports filed saying they were assaulted? I don't mean a BS report of a flag in eyeball. We deal with the Klan marching, intimidating our community all the time, but we deal with it as long as they don't put hands on us. That's a good point. I haven't seen any reporting of any type of like physical violence toward anyone. If you guys have, let me know. But you're right. They're basically saying that they're intimidated. And I'm like, well, that could be anything. You could say you feel intimidated because someone wore a shirt that had the Palestine flag colors. You could say you feel intimidated because someone looked at you and you thought that they were looking at you in a mean way. So that intimidation thing that can go far, and we need to be concerned about that. So just keep that up. Thank you, Wanker. Musk gave $1 million to a Wisconsin voter ahead of the April 1st state Supreme Court election. A lottery by votes. It's insane, right? Thank you, Rick. Religion is the opium of the people. It is the sigh of the oppressed creature, the heart of a heartless world, and the soul of our soulless conditions. Karl Marx. Thank you for that. Okay. We're going to dive into the next story. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a great day. It's a great day for independent media. Yeah, it is. It's a great day for independent media because it appears that YouTube is at the top of the Nielsen ratings. Not kidding at all. This includes the February ratings. And we all know what happened in February, the Super Bowl, right? YouTube is at the top of the Nielsen TV ratings, you guys. Now, we've been talking about this for quite some time, that corporate media is dying. I would say corporate media is already dead. And that is why you have seen some of the shifts on CNN, on MSNBC, not as much on Fox News because they're still doing okay with the ratings. That is why you've seen them fire some people. Although there's other reasons for that as well, depending on who the person was. That's why you've seen them switching hosts from one time slot to another. They're trying to move things around. CNN is bringing on conservative voices to try to balance things out somewhat a little bit to help with those ratings. But it is really not working. Really not working. And it's also not really working for Morning Joe. And you'll see this here. They are not too happy that YouTube tops the TV distributor rankings. Listen to this. Oh my God.
YouTube took the #1 spot last month when it comes to where most people are watching TV. The service accounted for 11.6% of all TV use in the country. That's an all-time high for YouTube and the second time it has topped the list of distributors.
Remember, of course, the extraordinarily famous line in Time magazine, "I've seen the future of rock and roll." And it is Bruce Springsteen. I think we can say that about YouTube and media. I mean, YouTube and media just continues to explode. And the numbers people are getting are off the charts.
Off the charts for a reason, right? Now, remember, YouTube isn't just independent media. They're vlogs, right? Some people will have videos of their pets, and some people have like cooking channels and actually I watch a lot of those. If you want to look like you're looking for a new recipe and you're tired of making the same meals, there's a lot of them on YouTube. In fact, there's one guy in particular, he's called the Protein Chef, and all of his meals are high protein meals. So if you're looking for certain things, like you can find them on, why watch the Food Network when you can just pull up a YouTube video with food recipes, right? Also, don't have a gym membership or can't afford a gym membership. Guess what? There's fitness videos on YouTube. So if you get yourself some dumbbells, you can do weights at home just by watching the YouTube videos. You can also do yoga at home just by watching the YouTube videos, Pilates, etc. I started working out at home before I got my gym membership. So just keep this in mind. But when it comes to media, when it comes to independent media, something has changed. There have been a number of times when I can see that independent media channels are getting more views for a live stream than, say, the numbers of CNN or MSNBC. This wasn't always the case, but things have really changed. And it seems like it doesn't matter if it's a Republican president or a Democrat president that has a full impact on this. So, for example, under Biden, that was happening. Under Trump right now, it's happening. People have moved in different directions. I think something else happened this time around, though. After Kamala lost last year, I think there seems to be a wave of people who were looking for other information, maybe people that were more focused on corporate media. And after she lost, they were really upset or confused. And they're like, how did this happen? I've been watching you guys all year, and you told me she had these big crowds and she was doing really well and she was going to win this state and that state. So how did it happen? How did we get here? Because what was really odd, and anyone who has a YouTube channel, does political YouTube, can explain this as well. Those that cover like news, right? Typically after a presidential election, views decrease. They don't increase for us. So I expected that. I expected, okay, the election's over, January starts, the views are gonna, decrease. That's what I expected. But this time that didn't happen. This time, independent media commentators on YouTube, for whatever reason, we have continued to grow after the election is over. There's a number of times, like there's some of the videos I have, which is, I don't know how it even got there. That JFK video that I posted has over 120,000 views. That's not even my best thumbnail. I was gonna be honest with you, it's not. So what I've noticed this time around is that the vids, the clips, they're getting more views than live streams. Typically, live streams aren't new watchers. It's usually people who are returning viewers, at least for me. The point is, you can't deny the numbers. You can see like CNN may be live on YouTube, and there are times I see it's 300 people watching. Well, that's CNN. How are there only 300 people watching CNN? So something has shifted. Some of the people, I guess, that just don't understand what happened during the presidential election, they started looking towards other pieces of information, and somehow they stumbled upon me. They stumbled upon Status Quo. By the way, Jordan wasn't here for the panel because he had a family thing to take care of, but Status Quo has grown tremendously since the election. Like, there are a number of us that are just continuing to grow, which I didn't expect at all. I was prepared for things to just stop because, there's no midterms, there's no presidential election, but that hasn't happened. And what that tells me is that people are looking for other pieces of information. I think that people are looking for different perspectives. Let's continue. As you can imagine, Joe and Mika aren't too happy about this.
The charts, Joe, and there's this the unraveling of the old world of media has been a striking thing over the last 20 years, and the question has kind of been what's going to rise up in its place, because obviously there are still lots of people consuming a lot of media and consuming a lot of video, and these numbers that YouTube continues to generate on behalf of small organizations and the individual creator economy. It's got a kind of parallel on this in the Substack world in terms of print, or in terms of text. It's an astonishing thing. It's obviously giving people access to all the world's video clips was a big first step, but it turns out that YouTube has a second and even bigger life potentially as a platform as a viable economic platform for a new structure for the business.
So people need to pay attention to what is happening here, because YouTube is not slipping. YouTube isn't on the decline. I have not seen YouTube decline since I started watching YouTube years ago, right? People are looking for something that's outside of the norm a little bit. And another thing we've noticed too, some of the people that came from corporate media that now have shows on YouTube, didn't get as much of a following as I would have thought they would receive, because they are public figures. I mean, if you watch them all the time, like you figure like for example, Don Lemon, I figured would have had over 1 million subscribers like that. Not the case. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen, but it makes you wonder, like, what's really going on there, right? It's a different beast over here. In corporate media, when Joe and Mika show up, they have someone to do their makeup. They have someone to do their hair. Hell, they probably don't even take the subway. 9 times out of 10, they have a car pick them up from their penthouse apartment and take them to the studio to do that show. They don't really have to interact with everyday people if you think about it. They really don't. They can bypass us. Like literally zero. And that's how it is for a lot of them. And they like those perks and they enjoy it, right? So keep that in mind. It's a totally different lifestyle, right? Like they don't have to set up a live stream. They don't have a ring light right in front of them, right? They don't even have a microphone in front of them because they're in a studio that is mic'd up. It's totally different when you do this on your own. And what I think is appealing about YouTube, if you're watching independent media on YouTube, is that it is a little bit more raw. It is a little bit more edgy. It's a little bit more authentic. There are things that I can kind of say here that you probably can't say on MSNBC or CNN or Fox News, right? I can just walk into this room and sit down and just start talking. It's a little bit different. I don't have someone telling me in my ear, okay, we're going to cut for a commercial break. Ain't no commercials over here. So it's a different environment. And I think people just want to see something that's a little bit more raw, a little bit more real, a little bit more laid back, someone that can be more appealing to them. And I think that's why if you notice how trends move, when I was growing up, there was a lot of attention to the glam girl image. There was a movie that came out when I was growing up called Clueless. And during that time, there was like this, trend of the little short plaid skirts and the baby doll. You guys remember the baby doll dresses? Baby doll dresses. There were also the baby backpacks. Apparently, for some reason, we all wanted to be babies. Again, I don't know what that was all about. But there was that type of trend. But as time has gone on, you're noticing there's more of an acceptance for things that are a little bit more natural and raw. I don't see people walking around with baby doll book bags now. In fact, it'd probably be laughed at. And I think that's kind of what people are looking at. I don't think people really want to see this type of stuff as much anymore. Also, there's information that they leave out. There's information that Joe and Mika leave out. There's things that we've told you here on independent media that Joe and Mika don't tell you. So these are things to pay attention to. So yes, YouTube is actually booming despite what people may think. And I know there's issues with the censorship, but according to the Nielsen ratings, YouTube unseats Disney. It is at the top.
For live events, and you're certainly seeing some crazy numbers out of London. Piers Morgan is actually using this, and I think he's leaving traditional television. He's doing these YouTube events where he'll have like Douglas Murray and Mehdi Hassan debate Middle East issues, and they will just go at it. And
this goes to show you how behind they are, right? Piers Morgan has been doing that for a long time. It's been a couple years now, right? That Piers started those debates, at least 2 years or whatever. So notice how this is going to show you how out of touch they are. He's like, Piers Morgan is doing this thing on YouTube now. It's been a while.
And the numbers are driving up there. I will say something else though that's actually moved me. I say I'm not on social media, but X, Threads, a lot of these things, just so angry. It's like I'm just not going to even wade into it. Sometimes even Instagram, show a picture of a baby. He goes, oh yeah, well, how do you vote in 1972? It's like, okay, whatever. That's one of the great things. And I think YouTube is benefiting from just the rage and the anger on so many other social media platforms. Come on, man.
So do you guys see what they're doing? it's not because people are doing good work on YouTube. It's because all the anger from the social media platforms has found its way over to YouTube. They just can't give people credit. They just can't admit, and don't get it twisted. Like, yes, there are people that have that rage. There are people that are frustrated, but I would say that those people are looking for a different perspective. I would say those people are looking to hear something on YouTube that Joe and Mika are not telling them. I would say that those people, maybe they're tired of seeing Joe and Mika. I don't know. Maybe they're tired of looking at this plastic image of life and they want to hear something that's a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit more street, something that's a little bit more real. I mean, like I said, Status Quo has been blowing up, right? What does Status Quo do differently that Joe and Mika don't do? Status Quo goes on the ground. Status Quo goes to East Palestine, Ohio, when other people didn't want to go there because they were like, oh, I want to get sick. Status Quo went to Standing Rock when they didn't want to go. Think about these things. So I think all of these independent media channels do have like their niche. There's something about them that is a little bit different, something you can see from them that you are not seeing on corporate cable media.
I want to look at some video, especially X. I mean, I have the account, but I don't use it anymore. Instagram's much better. I advise you not to read the comments. That's always good advice. But as you know very well, I have a 15-year-old and a 17-year-old. My son just watches YouTube. I mean, I honestly don't think my children know where the clicker for the cable is, because their instinct is they just go on and they go to whatever the streaming service of choice is. If we're watching the NCAA tournament, you find CBS and TBS and all those.
We don't talk
sports.
I'll say something else we don't talk about that much also is like Reddit. We don't talk about it much here, but Instagram and Reddit, we'll be watching a game and I'll be getting there'll be a 15 and out pass route. And, Jack was saying, they say that. I'm going, where are you getting this? And it's Reddit, and it's just, that's pretty fascinating social media platform. But again, away from just the absolute hatred of some of the other social media platforms.
Yeah. So the absolute hatred, he says, don't get me wrong. There can be, toxic level, like on social media, in particular, Twitter, but come on, give credit where it's due, man. There's a reason why people are watching, but it's true. YouTube unseats Disney atop Nielsen's February TV distributor rankings. This is huge, guys. So they beat out Disney. And I want to show you something about February in particular. YouTube hit a record of 11.6% of all TV viewing in February, according to the Nielsen media distributor Gauge report. That put Google-owned video giant in the #1 spot ahead of Disney. And it goes on to say here, the top finish was only YouTube's second since the media distributor Gauge report launched about a year ago. The report groups together all platforms of the Walt Disney Company. That includes ESPN, ABC, and streaming. And most times, the breadth of the portfolio carries the day. In February, though, Disney fell to #2, while Fox Corp rode a surge of tune-in to the Super Bowl across broadcast and streaming outlet Tubi to edge Netflix and end up in third. So even the Super Bowl here didn't help Fox Corp get into first place. So still, YouTube in first place. So when people ask, like, what's going on here? People are looking for something different. People are like, guys, a lot of people I know don't have cable. Cable's expensive. So it's like a lot of people just, no. I mean, if you're watching YouTube, I mean, YouTube is free. So if you have YouTube and you have Netflix, I mean, I don't know. Do you need cable? Something to think about. But it's happening, guys. It's happening. And I think Joe and Mika, I don't think they like that too much. Don't think so. All right, let's get to some of the comments here. Saul says, I stream everything. Yeah, I think that's the thing. Clever says, what's cable? Yeah, I don't think a lot of people have it. Lawrence, I don't have cable. Yeah, I think it's, it's also expensive nowadays. Thank you, Courtney. Hey, Sabs, have you entertained the thought of bringing back your cooking shorts? So when I was doing the cooking videos, my sister helped me with those. My sister was the one with the camera and all that. It's hard to do it by myself. I think you're talking about my cooking videos, right? Yeah. Because I have just regular shorts from like the streams, but it's hard to do the cooking videos by myself. Justin, mainstream spoon-fed us liquid trash. Folks are out. Thank you, Zeneb. I love seeing these pundits tank on YouTube. They are so arrogant, thinking they'll just take off. They can't leave anything for us regular folks. Yeah, plus they said YouTube we weren't real. Thank you all one same. Beaker looks lost, Morning Joe. Thank you, Jay. So RBN is beating Morning Joe, and now they're pissed about it. Well done. They probably don't even know who we are, but thank you, New York Varsity. Joe should be thankful. If not for YouTube, we have no idea what they are saying. Tired of being lied to for a fee. Ooh, that's a good point. Lied to for a fee. Let's get the comment there on Rumble. Thank you. Can you take me high enough? All right. Thank you, Wild Rose. Not everyone in independent media has stayed consistent before and after elections, and there's a whole new alternative media zoo of paid propaganda. One of the many reasons we appreciate you. Yeah, I guess you have a point there. Thank you so much for that. I was listening to... it was called Monster. You guys ever heard of Monster Ballads? Like, remember those like CD infomercials that used to come on like late at night and they would say, it's now 10, now 14. Well, there was the one that it was Monster Ballads and they said, now you can get Monster Ballads where every bad boy has a soft side. Do you remember Monster Ballads? They said, oh my God. That was a funny one. They had the song, can you take me high enough? Almost paradise. We're knocking on heaven's door. Heaven isn't too far away. Monster Ballads, where every bad boy has a soft side. I heard that earlier today, and that really took me back. I was like, oh my God. Oh man, fun times. Okay. It is Thursday, so we are doing the craziest stories of this week. So again, shout out to Breeze's Creation, who has been sending me these crazy, crazy stories that many may not have known about. And this one is bizarre. Imagine this. Imagine falling in love with an inmate, getting married to him, only to be killed by him at prison. I'm not making it up. It's not a Friday night movie. It really happened in real life. And I don't know if a lot of people know about this story. Check this out, guys. This is a warning sign to a lot of people, but woman killed on conjugal visit with the murderer. Again, he was her husband. Listen to this.
Back in 1990, Brinson stormed into a Los Angeles apartment aiming to rob a retired tavern owner who he thought was a drug dealer. But alas, there were no drugs. There were no big wads of cash, just four men sitting there watching a basketball game. So David Brinson made a plan. He forced all four of those men to the floor and he shot them one by one in the backs of their heads, also known as execution style. David Brinson was convicted of that, and he was sentenced to 4 consecutive life terms with no possibility of parole. And at some point, while David Brinson was marking off those long days at the Mule Creek State Prison in California, he connected with Stephanie Dowles on the outside. Stephanie was known to her family as Stevie, and she was a successful salon owner, a mother of 2, and a grandmother of 6. Stevie believed that she was helping inmate Brinson find redemption, thereby making him a better man, and soon she married him. Not long.
We're just going to pause here for just a second. So this is the woman who was killed. I don't know why people marry someone that has no possibility of parole, because if you know that they're not going to be able to ever get out of prison, I don't understand how that relationship is going to go. Like, I just never understood this. If you want to explain it to me, please explain it to me. I'm perfectly open, but I never understood that, right? Like, this woman, she was I guess a hairstylist. I think she owned her own hair salon, and probably anybody that she could have dated not in that situation, maybe. Like, I don't know, but I never understood that. Like, what is the point of that? You won't be able to see them outside of those prison walls. Now, she believed that he had changed his ways and decided, to give him a chance, but not just give him a chance, to actually get married to him. So let's hear what else happened.
Inmate Brinson find redemption, thereby making him a better man, and soon she married him. Not long after that, the state of California allowed her to be alone with him during something commonly known as the conjugal visit. Nowadays, there are only 4 states that allow conjugal visits. Bet you didn't know that. California is one of them. Inmates with good behavior can earn what are called family visits that take place in apartment-like facilities on the prison grounds. And those visits can last up to 40 hours. That also surprised me. Stevie and David, they were on a conjugal visit last November 13th when David picked up the phone and told the officers that his wife had passed out. The paramedics tried to revive her, but less than an hour later, Stevie was dead. For the next 4 months, her family was led to believe that Stevie died of natural causes.
And also, there's a little bit of an update about this. Apparently, Stevie's son wasn't even told, like, when she immediately died, apparently wasn't even told. So I don't know. Like, I always assumed that even if it was a conjugal visit, that there was a guard somewhere outside. I don't know, somewhere nearby, but I guess I'm wrong. I guess that's not always the case. But he killed this woman. Not just this woman, he killed his wife.
But then the coroner determined something else. Coroner determined that Stevie was strangled, apparently by the man she married and conjugally visited at the prison. While Stevie's last visit on November 13th seemed to be the final chapter for her, we are now learning some new details. David Brinson had apparently engaged in several conjugal visits with Stevie, including one in which her 3-year-old grandson was present. Let that sink in for a hot minute. He's a multiple murderer with a wife and grandson on the premises. We've also learned that Brinson attempted to take his own life back in July and failed. And
so if that were the case and he attempted to unalive himself, how was he allowed to be alone for a conjugal visit? How was he allowed to be alone with, like I said, I don't know where the guards were, but how was that even approved if he tried to do that? Because obviously that tells you at that point, like, he's not thinking right. Like, he's not in the right, the mindset at that point. But they approved for him to have a conjugal visit. I don't know, man. Like, that's a big one.
Yet, was still allowed his visits with Stevie afterwards. As of yet, no charges, additional, I should say, have been filed against Brinson. DA says he's still waiting for a full report from the prison. But Stevie's family is heartbroken. They want justice, not to mention answers. They want answers. Why are murderers with multiple victims being allowed these family visits? Why did it take 4 months to classify Stevie's death as a homicide? And how many more times will prison officials let this kind of thing happen? Because I hope you have a drink, because this story is about to take a turn sideways. Stevie was not the only woman killed on a conjugal visit at the Mule Creek State Prison. Also last year, on July 1st, Tanya Thomas was allegedly killed by her domestic partner during her visit to the prison. That partner of hers, Anthony Curry, is a convicted carjacker and attempted murderer, and his case just went to the DA in December. I'm joined now by Stevie Dell's daughter, Natalie Jimenez. Natalie, thank you so much for being with me, and I'm so sorry for what you and your family are going through, especially just how complicated it seems and the lack of answers. How did you first find out about this, and where do things stand today?
We found out Wednesday morning, November 13th. We got the phone call that she was found passed out and they weren't able to resuscitate her. About 2 weeks later...
Did they say anything more about it?
No.
Before we go further, did they say anything about being passed out? Did they say she'd hit her head or that she appeared to have a seizure or anything else that was informative other than just passed out?
No.
See, this is the other weird part, you guys. They didn't even tell the family how she died at first. Like, they didn't even tell them. It's just like she passed out. She was killed. I mean, this is just weird. This whole story. Like, I don't know. Why would this guy kill his wife? I mean, and I know she's his wife, even though they don't live together or anything, and he's in prison and she's not, but she still was his wife, and she obviously was in love with him to get married to him. Why would he do that? Like, why would he kill his wife? And then two, why did the prison allow him to have a conjugal visit with no guard present, or have him to be alone with no guard nearby, knowing that he had just recently tried to unalive himself? I mean, that's a risk. That's a risk, because here's the thing. If you knowingly tried to do harm to yourself, who's to say you're not going to try to do harm to someone else? So I'm not saying that people shouldn't be allowed to have these visits, but what I am saying is there should have been some type of protection or something in place. I also find it very strange that another woman died at that same facility during another conjugal visit. So what's going on? I don't
know. When David called, he called me. He said when he woke up to go to the restroom, he found her passed out. When he went to the restroom and came back, he found her passed out. But it's like, how did you not see her passed out before you went to the restroom? You know, I also asked, what time did she go to sleep? He gave me about 2-3 different times. Every time I asked him to repeat the story to me, he probably changed it about 4 to 5 times.
So what happened? Like, why did it take 4 months for them to finally come up with strangulation? I mean, 4 months seems an awfully long time to come up with something other than passed out, something as serious as strangulation. And 4 months seems a long time to let you and your family know that.
It's very weird, you guys. Guys, am I alone? It's very weird. 4 months go by and you don't tell by the way, she was strangled. Why? What is happening? And we may never know. I mean, I thought there were cameras all around the facility. So this isn't on camera? Like, what is happening?
It is. 4 months. I honestly think they were trying to sweep it under. You know, it was a little short after, we had help from a forensic person, and when he seen the body, he said there was evidence of abuse, so to do a private autopsy. So I really do think the prison was trying to go around it, and they found out that we were doing a private autopsy, and they just decided to tell us. But 4 months is still a lot. I think they knew sooner, and they could have told us sooner. I honestly feel like they were just trying to find a way to go around it.
Mm-hmm.
What did you know about David Brinson? And were you ever concerned about Stevie going inside the prison walls to spend time alone with him in an enclosed space that's unmonitored?
I mean, you know, speaking to him, you wouldn't think too much of it. You know, it seemed like he was trying to get better. You know, he was in school. He knew I was doing treatments. I was doing chemo treatments and things like that. So he would call me, and he would do like prayers before me going to my treatments. And, you know, he would engage a lot. Well, try to engage a lot. A lot of the family wasn't a big fan of him just because he was in prison. Nobody really knew what he was in prison for.
What?
So, you know.
So I missed that part earlier. Did you hear this part? She said that nobody knew what he was in prison for. I guess she's talking about the family. They didn't know what he was in prison for. I'm like, what? Like, this is oh my God. Oh my gosh. This is just bad. This is so bad, you guys.
Just everything coming out.
Yeah, I was going to say, what do you make of the fact that July 1st, this had happened to Tanya Thomas? She was allegedly killed by her domestic partner. It's two of these in 1 year. What are your thoughts about that?
No, I feel like they should have stopped conjugal visit when it happened to Tanya. They should have definitely stopped it. And even with David trying to commit suicide, he shouldn't have no type of visitation after that attempt.
Right.
Are you?
Because at that point, you are a danger to yourself.
You and your family planning to sue the prison based on the fact that there'd been a death like this in July, and that, you know, your mom was murdered in November?
Yes, definitely. We do want justice for my mom. You know, definitely for CDRC to change their policies and be more involved with the civilians instead of the inmates. You know, just like inmates have to check in 4 times out of the night, they should at least check on civilians 2 to 3 times a day or in the night, whatever the case is. But yes, we do plan on going after the prison, after CDRC.
So let me show you guys something, because there's another video. Let me just grab this really quick, because she looked so happy. Like I was seeing this video, and I don't know. I know some of you are probably asking, like, how does she meet him? Like, how do you end up in this situation? I don't know. But it's not unknown that, you know, women, you know, have dated guys that are in prison. And let me bring this up here, because I do want you to see her prior to that. Here we go.
The worst of enemies can't hurt us. I've seen people have testimonies where somebody killed their child and they prayed for that person's soul. That's where we have to be. You know, that's where we have to be. And I want to be that person, because you reap what you sow. God is a God of his word. You can't deny that. I want to reap benefits. So he had told me to stand. He told me to fall in love with Jesus. And then he told me to get ready for a blessing. Wow.
The death of a woman at a jail in Amador County while on a visit is now being investigated as a homicide. It happened last Wednesday.
Let's see if we can go forward a little bit more. I just wanted you to see a little bit more about her.
All reason and all cries from her family. Stephanie didn't just fall for him, she married him. Yup, she became Mrs. Brinson, prison walls and all, as if love letters and state-issued jumpsuits were the new fairy tale. Stephanie had a slew of accomplishments, the kind most women would be proud of. She raised a family, stayed active, and built a full life. But now, none of that will make headlines because the world won't remember her as the loving mom, the dedicated grandmother, or the vibrant woman she was.
This is just crazy, you guys. Like at first, like I told you, Breeze Creation sends me a lot of these news stories that you would think would just be unbelievable. When I saw this one, I was like, what? Like this doesn't make any sense. Like, why would this guy kill his own wife? I mean, like, she was willing to take a chance on him and everything. And they said that they thought that he had changed or whatever. I don't understand this at all. But also, like, the prison, I do feel like they're covering something up here. I feel like they're not telling the whole story. And it's just insane that they waited until 4 months later to explain to the family that she was killed, not that she just passed out. So there's a lot of questions here. And we'll continue to follow the story to see if more information comes out. But all I can say is, man, be careful. Just be careful out there. Let me go to some of the comments here, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Juanita. Sabs, I got YouTube and YouTube TV streaming serve. Yeah, I don't think a lot of people have cable. Thank you, Helpful Harm. Extremely sus. Prison guards and police are known for framing Black men, even claiming SUI, or I think, I don't, unalive, and coroners corroborate. Thank you for this one, Helpful Harm. John Horton case on root work sad. Body was brutalized and 2 coroners claim no evidence of injuries, claiming he did it to himself with a shoestring. It's interesting. Stoic says she had no business being with that man. The Slimy Show, to get a conjugal, you have to be on super good behavior. That's what I would think. That's why I didn't understand why he was able to get that at that time, considering what he tried to do before. Bad Wolf said, how did she find him? I don't know. Thank you, none of your business. He is one of those fake devil preachers. Thank you so much for that. All right, guys, we have one more story for you. Go ahead and smash that like button. Thank you. And that is the Jasmine Crockett story. And I know we're all wondering, like, what is really going on here, right? Like, so let's get into the thick of it, ladies and gentlemen. Apparently, Jasmine Crockett is dealing with somewhat of a controversy. That's because of the comments that she made about Governor Abbott. Let's go ahead and roll that not so beautiful bean footage. Check this out.
Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now. And the only thing hot about him is that he is a hot ass mess, honey. So yes. Right. Okay. All right. I'm gonna move on because I got other people this also hot in these streets. Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now.
Now, that comment wouldn't have been an issue if Governor Abbott wasn't in a wheelchair. And I don't know if everybody know, if you didn't know that, you probably know that now after this comment, right? So people are hearing this and they're saying, like, that's ableism. You shouldn't make fun of someone's disability. Listen, I'm no fan of Governor Abbott, but my criticism here is, instead of talking about these Hot Wheels, maybe talk about his policy. If you want to go after Governor Abbott, go after his policies. Go after his policies, how he made abortion rights even stricter for women in Texas. Go after that. Go after his hypocrisy about safe spaces for students, that he all of a sudden had no problem with safe spaces and actually made a statement wanting safe spaces for students during the pro-Palestinian protest, and said that Jewish students should have a safe space. So he was totally fine with safe space. You see how this works? Totally fine with that for one group, but said was against it for other groups. Go after his policies. That's how you knock these politicians out. But when you start to go after their looks, their disability, or whatever, that's when it becomes a problem and you're not staying on substance. Now, I understand that Jasmine Crockett has helped out the disabled community, so I just want to make sure I put that out there. That being said, that doesn't take away what she said. I just feel like there were so many other things that you could have attacked Governor Abbott for instead of that. And that was, you hit below the belt. You hit below the belt. Like that's my thing, you know? And I don't know, man. And I'm going to show you the hypocrisy though, because I did notice something. I noticed the hypocrisy around this particular issue. Now, she did issue a statement. She said here, and I don't know if I believe this, but I wasn't thinking about the governor's condition. I was thinking about the planes, trains, and automobiles he used to transfer migrants into communities led by Black mayors, deliberately stoking tension and fear among the most vulnerable. So there's a couple of things I want to say here before we get to the next part. Number one, I don't buy that. I think she was talking about his wheelchair. I really do. Just don't believe that. Number two, transferring migrants to communities led by Black mayors. Not all of them. Because migrants that were transferred, that Governor Abbott transferred to Boston, Boston's mayor isn't Black. And actually, they were sent to Martha's Vineyard, which has very few Black people. So it wasn't necessarily a Black mayor thing. Chicago, yes. New York, yes. But everybody thinks it was just Chicago, New York, and mainly just Chicago, New York. But it was also, there were other places too. Remember, all of these mayors testified in front of this hearing committee at Congress. So just remember that. But number one, I don't believe that's what she was talking about. Literally, the next line I said was that he's a hot mess, referencing his terrible policies. At no point did I mention or allude to his condition, which you did. So I'm even more appalled that the very people who unequivocally support Trump, a man known for racially insensitive nicknames and mocking those with disabilities, are now outraged. Now, to that point, I'll say this. That's the hypocrisy that I've been noticing. Because you see, let's pull it up here. Just for memories. Back in the day, when Donald Trump said this, let me see if I can. Here we go. I just want to take you back to what Donald Trump said back in the day when he was running for president 2016. This is the hypocrisy. Remember this?
Donald Trump facing new criticism for something he did on the campaign trail last night in South Carolina while defending his debunked claim that he saw thousands of Muslims celebrate the collapse of the Twin Towers here in New York. He appeared to mock a reporter with a disability. Take a look.
Written by a nice reporter. Now the poor guy, you got to see this guy. Oh, I don't know what I said. I don't remember. He's going like, I don't remember. Oh, maybe that's what I said. This is 14 years ago. They didn't do a retraction.
That reporter he is talking about is Serge Kovaleski, who now works for the New York Times. As you can see right there, he suffers from a chronic condition that impairs movement of his arms. A Times spokesman says they find it outrageous that Trump would ridicule the man's appearance.
Okay. Yeah, to that point, she's correct. There is a lot of hypocrisy. And as I said, the moment this story came out, I said, let me sit back and wait and see who is going to react and how they are going to react. Because here's the thing. Two things can be true at the same time. It can be true that when Trump was mocking that disabled reporter, he was wrong. It can also be true that Jasmine Crockett's Hot Wheels comment is also wrong. But what I noticed online is that some of the MAGA supporters were coming after Jasmine Crockett But you ain't want to come after Donald Trump when he mocked a disabled reporter. I also noticed some of the Democrats are defending Jasmine Crockett and they're saying it's funny. I saw Democrats post pictures on Twitter of Governor Abbott in a little Hot Wheels car. Remember those little Hot Wheels cars that the boys play with? Making fun of them, saying it's funny, keep trolling, keep trolling. But you didn't think it was funny when Trump made fun of the disabled reporter. And that's the problem with these two teams. That's the problem. People just end up backing their party even when they're wrong. And rarely, and I've said this before, rarely until now, until after the Chuck Schumer vote, rarely do you see a lot of people turn against their party. So I hope people are seeing that. Now, she was approached. Of course, Fox News was there. Listen to this.
I saw your comment explaining your comment calling Governor Abbott Hot Wheels. I put out a statement regarding that. You didn't apologize.
I put out a statement. Why would I apologize when I put out a statement? My statement was clear.
But you didn't apologize
for
calling him Governor Hot Wheels when he gets around in a wheelchair.
I don't know how that's offensive. I don't understand.
You have a disability.
You need me to repeat this to you.
Right, but why won't you apologize?
I put out a statement.
They didn't have an apology.
So read my statement.
I did read it. It didn't have an apology.
Okay, well, I'm done.
You don't feel bad about making fun of someone who is in a wheelchair, calling him Governor Hot Wheels?
Yeah. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah. I don't know if she's going to live this one down, but the thing is, it's not a good look. It really isn't. I think a lot of people don't know this too, that Governor Abbott, he wasn't, born that way. There was an accident. I think he was hit by a tree or something like that. That's why he's in that wheelchair. But the reality is, come on, like Jasmine Crockett knows if that comment would have been made by Marjorie Taylor Greene, and let's say Marjorie Taylor Greene made that comment towards a Democrat politician who's in a wheelchair, Jasmine would have had something to say. So you see, it happens on both sides. Now, here's what I don't agree with. Now it seems like there's a call to censure Jasmine Crockett. Breaking, a resolution has been filed to censure Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett over her deriding Governor Greg Abbott's disability. It was filed by Representative Randy Weber. And here is that, I'm not going to read all of this, but you guys get the gist. Here is that resolution here. And it just says that Representative Jasmine Crockett be censured. She will have to present herself in the well of the House of Representatives for the pronouncement of censure. And the censure will be public reading of this resolution. So I am not in favor of the censuring. I've never liked it. I've never agreed with it. I didn't agree when they were trying to censure Rashida Tlaib. I don't agree with it. I think it's ridiculous. And honestly, I think that needs to stop. Now you got to take it to this other level, right? Like everybody got to be censured. Al Green is censured. They censured Rashida Tlaib. And then what makes it crazy is that whenever they vote to censure a Democrat, there's other Democrats that vote along with the Republicans to censure said Democrat. Like it's crazy. So I don't agree with that. Skylar has a point. Censures used to be rare. Now it's about to be a daily occurrence until the election. Yeah, like everybody's getting censured now. Like every time you turn around, it just keeps popping up. This person is going to be censured. This person is going to be censured. So I find it to be annoying. Really do. So again, I disagree with the comment that Jasmine Crockett made. Again, this is the beauty about not being a part of either one of these parties. I'm not going to sit up here and defend her. I know some people are because they're Democrats and they just want her to look good. That is not who I am. So the thing is, I don't agree with what she said. I don't believe her comment there that she was talking about the trains and the buses. I think she was talking about him. And then two, I also don't agree with the hypocrisy that is being displayed from people on social media, that all of a sudden it's, let me come after you because you mocked a disability, but you defended it when Trump did it. Not in favor of that either. I'm also not in favor of another person being censured. I think the censure thing is getting ridiculous. You can add that along with the impeachments. Every time, let's file articles of impeachment, censure this person, censure that person. It makes our government look chaotic, which I think it really is. And it makes it look like our government is a mess. And it's one of those things is like, we know our government is crazy. We know our government is chaotic, but we don't need everybody else knowing that right now. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things. It's like everybody has that one crazy uncle or that one crazy aunt. And it's like, you know that Uncle Terry is crazy. And you know, you and your family, you guys can call them crazy, but you don't want everybody else knowing that. It's a similar situation, right? I feel like Congress and the White House over the past couple of years has turned into, Congress has turned into the Real Housewives of Congress. That is really how I feel. It's just a reality show. I feel like it's a shit show. Remember back in the day when you didn't see this stuff and you didn't hear about these crazy ass things that people were doing and all this kind of stuff? Not to say we can't have transparency. We do want transparency, but some of it is just getting ridiculous. Like, I feel like 15, 20 years ago, you would have never seen this beef between Marjorie Taylor Greene and AOC or Marjorie Taylor Greene and Jasmine Crockett. You wouldn't have seen that, but that's what you see now. It's really the Real Housewives of Congress. And honestly, it's fucking embarrassing. Other countries are laughing at us. Like, I don't know if people realize this. Other countries are laughing at us. You Americans, you don't even want to give your people health care. You spend too much time fighting and watching Real Housewives of Congress. And people just look at us and they see like, you guys can't get anything done. Are they wrong? Let's go to some of the comments here in the chat, guys. Thank you, the Feral Unicorn. A lot of evangelical churches have prison outreach programs and encourage pen pal type relationships. Okay. Maybe that's how she met him. Thank you, New York Varsity. The joke was cute and Abbott has thick skin and as a Texan can take it. The real loser here is the Human Rights Campaign who hosted this. They are supposed to be standing up for the marginalized. Bad. Oof. Thank you, Gamble. Her lace front is a disabled hot mess, truly. I'll tell you guys about the lace fronts another time, but hold on. I'll get to that. Thank you, New York Varsity. Extreme MAGA people have an issue, but Texans, ? They are going to make a Hot Wheels t-shirt off of this. Interesting. Zeneb said what she did was wrong and shitty, but these reps are the biggest hypocrites on the planet. MTG, give me a damn break. And thank you, Feral Unicorn. The issue is defending the use of ableist language. It is dehumanizing. The disabled community is already at the bottom of the intersectionality barrel. Words matter when the words are people. Yeah, about the lace fronts, man. Can you guys, can I ask a question? Why everybody got fake eyelashes, everybody got lace fronts, everybody got fake booties. Like, why is it like now everybody wants to walk around like a blow-up doll? I just don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I think, and I will say this, to the whims, okay? To the women. You are all beautiful the way that you are. You really don't need all this. You don't. And I think a lot of times, even some of the dudes, in the chat will probably tell you, you actually look better the way that you are. You look better naturally, right? Like, I don't understand it. It's really weird. And that's why I say Real Housewives of Congress, because I remember the very first season of Real Housewives was the Real Housewives of Atlanta. And back then, everybody looked normal. Everybody looked like themselves. And as the years went by, everybody got these big ass fake eyelashes. I'm like, I can't see your eye. I can't see your eye. Big fake eyelashes. Everybody got all the big lace fronts. So-and-so got a new booty. So-and-so got new boobs. Like, I just like, it's just, everybody's so fake. I just don't get it. So my message to women out there is like, dude, like, just be yourself. Just be yourself. Because after you start getting all those things done, after a while, it makes you look older than you already are. All that plastic surgery and all this stuff, it actually makes you look older. And when you see them take all that stuff off, it's like you're losing 5 or 10 years, right? Just be yourself. I don't get it. I don't get all this stuff, man. Now, I do understand there are some reasons that people have different conditions. Like some people have like alopecia, or people are suffering from cancer and they've lost their hair. And I understand that. I'm not here to say people can't wear lace fronts or wigs, but it just seemed like to me now everybody looked the same. Like I can't turn on one reality show without seeing duck lips, fake booty, BBL booties, whatever, these big eyelashes that are about to fly off your eyes, and the big hair. I just don't like everybody look the same. It's just weird. I don't know. Maybe I'm just old school. Maybe I'm getting older. Maybe I'm just getting older. I don't know. I don't like it, man. By the way, and here's another tip. And the guys, and I'm not saying you're going to go have a one night stand, but the thing is this, at some point it's going to come off. And so when someone meet you, that's what they see. And when you go to bed, it's like they're going to see a different person. So I don't know. Just be yourself. Oh my God. Oh, I should have explained that. I'm sorry. A lace front is a wig that doesn't look as much like your typical wigs. And it's called a lace front because the way that it's created, it has like a built-in scalp. So you just, you pull your hair back and you put it on your head and it looks like it's your scalp. And people will take you take the glue and they'll glue down the sides of the lace and they'll just like brush down the little baby hairs. And it's supposed to, the really expensive ones, it's supposed to look like it's your hair. But like I said, a lot of people have them now. So it's like everybody kind of know they're not that way no more. Like everybody kind of know it's not your hair now. But anywho, something that Eric wanted to share with you guys. Eric wrote, this is called The Distraction Game, 11 Demands. And I thought this was a really good point that Eric has here. Bernie and AOC on their anti-oligarchy tour, acting like they do not 100% support a party owned by corporate oligarchy. Trump's crew planning the next round of war crime bombings in a chat room. Jasmine Crockett, the supposed next progressive hero, acting like a political opponent's disabilities is fair game. Masked ICE agents rounding up dissidents. What do all of these things have in common? What is the goal? The goal is to distract us from the core problem. MCDS, money, corruption, demands, solutions. There are a small number of people, the top 0.1%, pulling the strings of our political puppet theater, distracting us from having clear demands. Controlling the narrative is crucial to keeping their corrupt system going. So what do we do about it? We discuss the stories and then always finish with MCDS and 11 demands. Fix big money in politics and government, healthcare for all, a minimum standard of living for everyone, end the wars, respond to the climate emergency, racial and criminal justice reform, reject censorship, immigration reform, an election system we can trust, revamp taxation and funding, and democratize the enterprise. Use these demands and solutions that flow from them to crack our biggest challenge. Inspire millions of people into a mass movement that gets into the streets and does not let up until the demands are met. And you can also see the 11 demand strategy broken down if you go to 11demands.org. Thank you so much for that, Eric. All right, we'll go to the last comments and then we'll head out, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Skylar. Re-upping this, but in Texas, lots of folks call him Hot Wheels, not excusing it, but that's why the nickname was in her mouth. She forgot where she was. Oh, that's interesting, Skylar. That's interesting. Jamie says, blame the Kardashians. Yin Yang says, ladies, take it from us men. Stop with the fake accessories and makeup and implants. You look much better with your natural beauty. There you go. There you go, ladies. Thank you, CEB Applejack. Shout out to Sabby Sabs. Keep pushing. You are doing great things. June 16th, mutual aid in Canton, Ohio. Tuscarawas Street. Walmart parking lot. Okay, so there's a mutual aid event in Canton, Ohio. I went there once to go to the Football Hall of Fame. June 16th, for those who are in that area, it's going to be in the Walmart parking lot at Tuscarawas Street. And thank you, John. What are your thoughts on the substance? It looks interesting, and I've always been a huge Demi Moore fan. I have not seen it. I actually haven't seen Demi Moore in anything in a while. I'll have to check on that. Haven't seen it. Apparently there's a couple of things I need to watch. I can tell you guys, if you want to be spooked but not too spooked, and you like thrillers, watch Cassandra. The name of the show is called Cassandra. Watch that. Cassandra is a little spooky spook, but it's mind-blowing. Like, just when you think you know what's happening, you don't. Like, it's one of those shows. Like, you don't find out to the end of that episode that, oh, wait a minute, it's not what I thought. I was wrong. Then you have to keep watching, because then you have to see the next episode and you have to say, like, oh my God, what's really going to happen? But Cassandra was crazy. Okay. Cassandra was crazy. I'm talking about like Fatal Attraction crazy. And if you guys ever saw that movie, then you know Glenn Close was like crazy in that movie. So check out Cassandra. That's a good one to watch. I'm trying to figure out what movie I'm going to watch this weekend. I usually do like a movie night, so I'll have to find something to watch there. But yeah, I saw that. Pine said Millie Bobby Brown has ruined her own youth with Botox and lip filler. She looks 40 years old now. I saw that. I don't know what's happening to people. I don't get it. I'm telling you, when you get those things done, you look older. You look older. I don't get it. Maybe it's Los Angeles. Maybe it's Hollywood or something. Cassandra. Wasn't Cassandra on Netflix? It was either Netflix. I think it was Netflix, Rocco. But watch that one. I think yeah. Now, I watched it. I'm not going to lie. I didn't feel like reading subtitles, man. Because it takes place in Germany. I just wasn't in the mood to read subtitles. So I selected the English dub. Sometimes I do that, but I don't do it on the South Korean movies or South Korean shows. I can't. I tried that one time and I was like, this is really bad, man. The dubbing is really bad. I don't know what it is, but the dubbing on like the German show Cassandra is pretty good. For the South Korean movies and shows is not. Also, it feels weird if I'm watching a South Korean movie or a show and I'm not hearing it in that, like I gotta hear it in that language, right? But South Korea has a lot of good TV shows and movies, like on Netflix, on like Hulu. Like, I'm telling you, that's where it's at. If you really want to watch something, like start with Parasite. Start with Parasite. If you haven't seen South Korean films, start with that one. It's about class. Yeah, there you go. All right, guys, that is it for me. I'm way past my time. No live stream Friday evening. I told you guys I got the mutual aid thing early Saturday morning, but I will be live Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern. So I'll see you guys then. So have a good night. Keep up the fight. Oh, whoops. Keep up the fight.